Hey, it's the Bennington Show on a Monday. I'm Ron Bennington. There's Gail Bennington.
Yo.
I'm Ron Bennington. That opening song today.
That was Courtney Barnett and Kurt Vile just teamed up for a new album, and it's super good.
That song's badass.
It's really good. They're both really good on their own, and they make, like, when I found out that they were doing a record together, I was like, that makes perfect sense.
Dude, it sounded like Neil Young was playing guitar.
You know, there's Neil Young vibes about it, and I also feel like there's Petty vibes in there, too.
A little bit of Petty vibe.
Yeah.
We're still in shock. We're still in shock and haven't let go of that. All right, it is a Monday. Let's kick this off with an announcement, one that this is an unmask we've wanted to do for a long, long time, and it's going to be next Monday night at the Stand because he has a brand new Netflix special, and it's the champion of the world, the next president of the United States, Judah Friedlander.
Yeah!
His special is America is the greatest country in the United States. And I watched it all last winter. Judah told me that he's filming a special. And it was just this little camera that he would put on the end of the bar, right?
Right.
And I'm like, thinking to myself, I don't think this is a special. Matter of fact, one time I was standing in front of it and someone taps me on the shoulder and goes, that's that camera that's for Judah's special. I'm like, okay.
It should be manned.
As far as I know, there was never a crew with this. I mean, we'll find out next Monday. And he sold that special to Netflix, where everyone else is paying hundreds of thousands of dollars and renting a theater. And he shot this all over New York. I think most of it is from the Fat Black Pussycat, if not all. I'm going to try to see it today if I can. And I'll let you know what I think. But Judah on stage is one of the most unique people. Judah's crowd work is the craziest shit. And there are a couple of people that I'll stay, when I'm hosting and watch their set. And Judah's definitely one of them. I think, I'm going to be totally honest here, I think Judah, and I wouldn't say this about everyone I know, but Judah's an artist. He really is. He lives and works and is mysterious as an artist. The other night, somebody made a woman cry, not from talking to her, but from their own material. And for me, and this woman got out, her whole family had to follow her out, and I was watching the club, talk to her and try to chill her, and then I would just keep stopping over and saying stuff like, oh my God, I didn't know that, I was just trying to keep it going. What exactly did he say, because I was just loving it.
Was she just crying because she was offended at a certain...
She heard something that was two things that were so offensive her, and then she was a little drunked up, I'm not gonna lie to you, but she is like an older woman, like she had adult daughter-in-law with her, but she was like, you were good and she was good and he was good, but then and I'm like, I don't understand, he's got a new Netflix special out, and you could hear with the audience, he's very popular with them. And then I tried to get her, because she kept saying it's the Jewish guy that went up, and I'm like, well, they're not, we got how they get and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I was just trying to get it to be as anti-Semitic as possible.
Oh, my God. Now, the joke that you heard, was it shocking to you that somebody could get that level worked up?
Dude, this wasn't a PG-rated show anyway.
Right.
Okay. Big J was on this fucking show.
He was one of the good ones. He was a nice boy.
And you know what? Now that I think of it, she left the room before Jay. As a matter of fact, I think she left at the beginning of Jay's set, and I thought that he walked her, and I was so excited. I was just thrilled about that, but it wasn't him. But It's nice to know that words can still hurt sometimes.
They still have power then.
Now, by the way, I think the way they chilled her out was some free tickets to like a Tuesday night show, and I'm like, this could just keep happening. So go over and check this out on the iBang. It's Judah Friedlander, Unmasked. I'll just tell you this, and I haven't, like I said, I'm going to try to see the special tonight, but he shot it in black and white, which, by the way, I just love. You know what I mean? I would just wish everything was in black and white. And written, directed, edited, produced, all by Judah. This is a one-man project. And perfect title. America is the greatest country in the United States. And that comes out on Halloween. And dressing like Judah would be a great...
Oh, that's a perfect costume.
For Halloween, yeah. This year, if you get the chance, they do this Halloween show every year in Brooklyn where comedians go on stage. It's mainly young comedians and do somebody else's act. And I can't think of the name of it. I think it's like Shtick or Treat. That's the name of it. And they're doing it. I mean, it gets bigger every year. I think this might be the 10th year or something. But it's the big anniversary show. It's at the Bell House.
Nice.
And I think Big J and Soder are both doing it. Soder hasn't done it in like 8 years, but I had to hear everything that he did 8 years ago. They're all excited about it, but it's a very. I saw it one year because somebody was periscoping it, and it was fucking hilarious. And our buddy Dan Perlman went on stage doing an open micer. He did that crazy Indian kid from the early Comedy 101, and everyone was just staring at him. But I'm holding my phone, going, "Ah!" Yeah.
I get the reference.
How are you going to do an impression of someone no one else, even the other comics, are aware of who they are? But all the comedians, they just love this bit that you could go out and do somebody else's.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if they want to say who it is, but I know somebody is going to be doing a chopping chicken. Aren't you embarrassed of yourself?
They got this place called Chipotle.
So over at the iBang for the Judah Friedlander Unmasked, I expect it to be a great time.
He's so unique. So it's like anytime you have the chance to see him on stage, it's kind of a don't miss situation because he's so unique. And I think, he's one of those people, anytime he comes in here, he just lays us out. Like, all of us.
He does.
Like we just become spectators in that moment.
Yeah. I'm going to do it with Judah right now. Well, that kind of praise is embarrassing, but in this case, it's true. I love when he does shit like that. All right, so that's happening. Aaron Rodgers is hurt. So, I honestly think any team is bad enough to win the Super Bowl this year. There are no great teams. Like, normally I would try to say to Eagles fans, because they're already freaking out, I'm like, you're going too soon, but you've got as good a shot as anyone. Anyone has as good a shot as anybody. Last night, the Giants beat Denver in Denver. Nobody's shocked. There's no reason to be shocked by anything that happens in football. You're just like, yeah, of course. That happens. I think San Francisco has lost every game by like a fucking field goal or less. They haven't won a game. And a friend of mine is a Niners fan. He's bringing that up. I go, yes, that's what happens in this league. You know what I mean? It's not college where you're worse by fucking 40 points. You're worse by 2. So you stink. That's how the league is set up. I was reading this today that the NASCAR ratings are way down. People aren't watching NASCAR on TV. I think it's a matter of people have so many choices with TV that it's finally gotten around to affecting sports. And it's even weird in movies too, like that stupid title, Happy Death Day, was the #1 movie. They make these movies, it's Blumhouse, I think is the name of it. And they make them for like $14, right? Their thing is to go as small as you can. Its opening was only $6 million less than the very expensive Blade Runner. You know what I mean? Blade Runner was like $150 million, another $50 million to, promote the thing. These guys fucking shot this movie on an iPhone, called it Happy Death Day instead of Happy Birthday, and people are lining up to see it.
I saw the trailer for that and thought, oh, this is a joke. Like, I thought, like, this is not going to be a popular film. Oh, it is.
It is. Well, this is the people go to Paranormal Activity and all the, It's the same people behind it. And you're like, oh, is this coming to cable? No. It's fucking going directly in. All right, you love the Blade Runner. Chris, Blade Runner was your movie of the year.
Yes.
I saw Blade Runner over the weekend.
I cannot wait to find out what you thought.
I did not like it.
Really?
Yes.
You did not like it?
I actually thought this. So what?
Wow. I'm shocked.
I wasn't shocked by any of the storyline.
Yeah.
And I saw the original Blade Runner in the movie. Mind blowing. Mm-hmm. This, I had said, okay, that reminds me of this. That reminds me of this. This, you know what I mean? There was nothing there that I hadn't seen.
I thought that they did such a good job of continuing the world of Blade Runner. I thought without just being a copy of it, I thought they just created an evolution of that. That was really cool.
Yeah, I am by Gosling. The Harrison Ford playing the same thing that he did with his other iconic roles. I'm going to do a little bit of a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I'll give you a couple seconds if you don't want to hear what I have to say about Harrison Ford. 5 seconds to spoiler. Harrison Ford has taken his 3 iconic roles and came back later as just the absentee dad. That's all he's done with it. These guys that were always action guys have just been sitting on a chair for fucking 25 years. There's no growth. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
And yet they all still throw punches. At 74 years old or whatever he is. I just didn't see any reason to make that film.
Wow. I think I enjoyed it so much because I just found it to be so dreamy and surreal. I mean, it can't compare to the first one, and no. I wasn't comparing it to the first one. I just kind of thought of it as just a continuation, and maybe it was because I was so ready to despise it because I thought that it's just a bad idea to try to touch something that was already so cool and so perfect. But yeah, I mean, I walked out of there and I felt I generally felt weird. I felt like
it was a video game when I walked out there.
Yeah, I felt like I was looking at the world in a very weird way.
I did the same thing, and I think that was from 3 hours of submersion, but that would have happened no matter what they were doing. Like if it was just a blinking light for 3 hours, that would have felt weird when I left there. But I did not see any reason. Just any fucking reason.
And you didn't like Gosling at all?
Gosling, the loneliest man in the world. I've seen him do it so many times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I've seen him, just be incredibly lonely, incredibly, on his own. It happens over and over. I get it,
Did you not buy or get into the romantic storyline in it?
I saw that other movie. I saw Her. You know what I mean? It was the same fucking thing. It was the same thing. And the French director, I don't know his name. I'm going to guess it's Philippe. I liked his other movie very, very much. The I'm a translator, and they talk and smoke. Yeah. That gave me new stuff that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
This did not. I felt like he was attempting to do somebody else's work for them, and it came off that way to me. You know?
Yeah.
When we saw Blade Runner, we were like, wow, man, I've never seen any shit like this. Now, what, 30 years is supposed to have passed in that world, and we got like snowy sleet instead of just rain. You know what I mean? The girl who played like the dream making part.
Yeah.
I thought I would have rather followed her around. I found her to be interesting.
I thought that she was probably my favorite aspect of, like, her character was great to me.
But the whole thing that, you know, we're supposed to like skin jobs better than human beings. I don't get that. You know what I mean? I don't feel like, hey, I hope the skin jobs replace human beings. And that whole thing I've read anywhere, like, hey, there's going to be a war. I don't see anybody looking, you know what I mean? Like anything I see, people are just trudging through life. Like there's really, if I'm watching that movie and someone died, I'm like, they're probably luckier than the living people, you know?
It's pretty shitty here.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking awful. What did you like about it, Chris?
I liked Jared Leto's part in his reasoning as to why he wanted more skin jobs and how he wanted to. Well, I don't want to give anything away about the main plot of the film.
That isn't the main plot of the film. That's just his. And I mean, he was a very small character.
Yeah.
And he had that, you know, that same role. There's always, I mean, I guess we're supposed to have a giant fear of the Steve Jobs types. You know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't, you know.
You wanted more of him, right?
Yeah, I wanted more of Jared Leto because he was in 2 scenes out of the entire film.
Yeah. And he was the only over-the-top character, and that came off that way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like if a Shakespearean actor just shows up in a Western, you know? He looked like he was going to be the evil person in fucking a Batman movie or something.
Right.
I just wanted it, you know, it's my expectation. I wanted it to be fucking great. And I remember the feeling of the first one.
And I think that's also a big factor. Like, if you can remember seeing that probably the first time without anyone telling you anything about it, walking into a theater, that's always going to be a hard thing to ever trump that experience.
Well, here's the thing. Visually, it was stunning. The bringing back, you know, in the first one, Harrison Ford is supposed to be Bogart or Robert Mitchum, right? So those type of things of here, you got this 1940s attitude guy walking around in a sci-fi, that was very interesting. But the music by Vangelis and all that was unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Just totally foreign to us. And I remember Bono coming out against the music. He goes, look, Vangelis is great, but in the future, people are going to be in the roots music. People are going to need their music to be more organic. I always remember that because I went around reading everything I could about it. And here, look how wrong fucking Bono was, because music is a laptop now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was the kind of shit that, you know, you just weren't, like, you could actually feel the music in the first Blade Runner. And in this one, I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess there is some music playing. Oh, let me try to focus on it.
It definitely didn't have that music impact. Like, I couldn't recall a piece of music that was in that.
It was very quiet. It was very, you know, and the first one, it felt like the music was just pushing you down into your seat. You know what I mean? It just, that music was like, oh, this fucking life is so hard and metallic. You know what I mean? Like the music felt like you couldn't touch it. You know what I mean? And this, you know, they didn't play into it here. But, you know, even Leto was just basically the toy guy from the first one. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a lot of logic to that stuff.
One thing I really liked about it is that I really appreciated the pacing of it, and I liked the way it moved. Like, it didn't try too hard to be a modern day pacing or take it into like sci-fi action film, which I really like. And that probably lends itself to having a feeling afterward, because it took the time to put you in that pace. And there's an article, it's up on the iBang, about just kind of how audiences now, like, maybe this couldn't be successful now because audiences are so not patient enough for a slow plot.
Well, if you're a young person, this would seem ridiculous to you. You know what I mean? But there has to be, if you're going to set that up, there has to be at least an emotional payoff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I really didn't care if anybody got together, if anybody lived or died. I mean, Harrison Ford, I only saw as Harrison Ford. I never saw him as Decker. You know what I mean? I'm like, why?
He's back again.
Yeah. Why would he just be sitting there? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't he figure out what he could be doing? It's and I mean, I think that if you're going to take that kind of time, right, for that slow pacing, because you're setting up this world, we should feel way more connected to it. Like everybody in the world, except for Jared Leto, was a victim of this technology in one way. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was another scene that I hate it is when Gosling first shows up at the cop thing and a fucking human goes skin job and looks like he was going to punch him, and he was like leaned back like a little kid, and I'm like, why do they hate skin jobs? They're all over the fucking, you know what I mean? Like, why would anybody hate that? What is that supposed to even represent?
I guess it's just skin jobs are taking our jobs was like the devil.
Yeah. Maybe, but you know, they're everywhere anyway. They would have been there 30 years before. I mean, I guess the blackout, blah blah blah. I don't know. I just wanted it to be great, and I certainly didn't feel that way. But that's how I feel when I go to the movies most of the time now.
Right.
I saw that. What's the one that Adam Sandler they put it directly to?
Meyerowitz Stories.
Oh, I didn't.
Did anybody watch that?
I didn't get to see it yet.
I watched it.
Anything for you, Vito?
It felt like most like indie comedies about family.
Yes, that's the problem with it.
Yeah.
It seems like you were trying to make the movies that we've already seen. And the whole reason that we're supposed to love Adam is because he's not being silly funny. He's being aggravated and uncomfortable.
But it's got like Tannenbaum's vibes, right? Like they're all kind of intellectuals or artists or something.
You get the feeling that they, Noah Baumbach, to me, he's always like really trying to make a great movie. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess that should get, something, but it didn't, I didn't give a fuck about them.
Right.
I don't care. I don't think that you're going to have an apartment in New York City and not work. I just don't believe that to be true. I don't believe, that we're always stuck in this Larry David little minutia thing. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, I loved it when it happened. You know what I mean? But where's your stamp? Where's your thing at?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever liked a film of his as much as Kicking and Screaming, the fucking first thing that he did.
Yeah.
After that, it was just a little let down each time. Yeah, but each time it's like, Vito was right. It's trying to feel like the independent comedy.
That's what it looked like to me. That it just seemed very similar to those kind of 90s indie films where you meet a quirky guy and he's sad and has some problems. Yeah. Has a weird family.
And yet none of it is all that important. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing there that you're like, oh, this is terrible or this is great. Chris Hackensack.
Hey, Ronnie B.
Yeah.
I'm a big Baumbach fan. The Squid and the Whale was basically the same movie as the Meyerowitz Stories, and Jeff Daniels kind of played, he was amazing as that disenchanted narcissist, everything, this thing's better than that thing, and I know that, and Hoffman didn't quite do it for me.
Well, Hoffman was, well, first of all, I'm not a real Squid and the Whale fan to begin with. I thought that was a little bit navel gazing, and Hoffman is Hoffman. I mean, you could look at him and feel whatever you feel about him. I'm not the. What's really weird about Jeff Daniels is he's, for some reason, the narrator in that Spielberg documentary, and I'm like, how does that connect? Out of everybody, why him? Because I don't think he's done a single Spielberg, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, it took me a second to figure it out that it was him.
Audrey, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to tell you about the experience I had on the Blade Runner movie. First of all, the original was one of my favorite movies of all time, and I took my dad to see it because he took me to see the original, and I assumed he remembered it. But 3 days later, he calls me up, and he's like, Audie, what were they talking about? I didn't understand what was going on, and there was so much talking, and he fell asleep during the movie.
Well, I could see how you could, like you said, it's dreamy. You could pass out watching that movie. But in the same way, like when you were taking a long car trip and your dad was driving, you know what I mean? Like this late at night car trip. I could see how that would happen. Just every once in a while you wake up and you hear your dad telling your mom, why can't you read a map?
I'll just go back to sleep.
Yeah, I'm just going to stress. I don't want these two to get a divorce.
That just reminds me of, like, the way when you're in the back seat and like the way the like street lights going
Unbelievable
by,
feeling.
and like that whir kind of sound of the car. Nothing could make you sleep like that when you're little.
Not too long ago, I was back in the area that I grew up in, and I was driving down the highway, and I was like literally in between my grandmother's house and my house, and I looked out at places that I would always just be dozing at. And this thing that felt like I was looking over a valley isn't that high set up. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And I would just look out over this lights and be like, oh, those people are already sleeping. You know what I mean? As I was dozing off. Because it always felt so late when you left the party when you were a kid.
Yeah. I have this memory of like going home from my grandmother's house on Christmas Eve and just feeling like it must be 4 a.m. But it was probably 11 o'clock at night, but you're so little that you're just like, we've been partying all night.
Yeah.
So beat.
What a party that was. Never forget it. Here's Tim in D.C.
Hey, Ronnie. Just want to know if you felt that Blade Runner was kind of like comparing Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey to the sequel, 2010.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, and that was one of those things that everybody couldn't wait for 2010, and it's going to be this and that. I don't know, I guess it's just a really, a difficult thing to set yourself up to do something about that.
Yeah, I mean, even the director was saying, like, he kind of took it on as, I know that I'm setting myself up for failure because I love this movie so much. The people who love this movie are never going to enjoy this.
Right.
So he saw this as like, how can I honor the world of what they were trying to do, kind of evolve it a little bit, but knowing that it was not going to be well received. And he's like, I made the decision and went, this could ruin my career. Like, he was fully aware of taking that job.
Well, I mean, I won't sit around and like I said, when I said that I didn't like it, my initial thing was, why even, you know what I mean?
Right.
There was nothing there that made me feel like, oh, this is enhanced. Like, I won't be thinking about the second one when I watch the first one again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe nostalgia is what fucked me up, but I don't even feel like, oh, listen to me, I got it down. I mean, 2 weeks later, if you guys would have wanted to see it, you would have seen it by now, because it's probably not going to hang around much longer. Because the theater that I saw it in was very sparse.
Really?
Very sparse, yeah.
I saw it opening weekend, so I saw it packed, but I was like, I saw, the way it did that weekend, and I went, well, this is probably not going to last. Obviously, this isn't happening everywhere.
Right. Yeah, it did a third of what the numbers are expected for a blockbuster these days. It did a third of it. Somebody's probably in giant fucking trouble over this thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I don't think it'll have anything to do with the filmmaker. I think, you could look, he's a talented guy. You know what I mean? I mean, you pulled that thing off. Congratulations for pulling it off. I don't blame Gosling, but not once did I not see Gosling on stage. You know what I mean? I just felt like I was looking at Gosling.
Right. There was at least two moments where that I would say that they were so visually unique that I was like, I've seen a lot of kind of CGI stuff, but this felt very cool and real. And one of them was the effect that he did during a sex scene. And then the other one was a moment that you saw, what is that called? She's a hologram, but like the big version. And I was like, whoa, that really feels so different visually and unique in a way that I haven't seen something look like that before.
And that'll be in Times Square within,
I know, that's anyway. The other thing I was thinking is like, how far are we from that level? Just like hologram ads everywhere, and it's weird.
But I've been reading stuff for years that you're gonna you'll be walking past things that'll bring your name up because it'll be connected to your phone or whatever, kind of implant that we have, whatever the sign of the beast is at the time.
And they'll be like, Gail, we know that you're in the market for some leather boots, but check this out. And you're like, ugh.
I don't even know if I have any movies that I'm looking forward to this winter. I don't even think I've heard about anything.
Yeah, I actually don't know what's coming down the pipeline at all. Anything that I have that I was like, oh yeah, that's coming up. I don't think I know of anything.
The movie that'll do well is the next Star Wars. That'll be the big, whether you like it or don't like it. I thought it was interesting that Voss was saying that he's never seen a Star Wars. I mean, that was so unique. Hey, Kevin, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Good.
Like, I really think it's like the quirky films really can't do a sequel successfully. I mean, can you imagine any of the Coen films having, the Coen brothers films having a sequel? Or imagine, like, let's make a sequel to Blue Velvet. I just think there's certain films that just don't lend themselves to sequels, and Blade Runner is one of them.
I certainly felt that way. I certainly felt that way when I heard that they were doing a show called Fargo, and I was like, don't do anything. I mean, that's a masterpiece in itself. Anything you do is going to mess that up. And yet I feel like it doesn't necessarily affect the first one, but it's connected. It's its own weird thing.
All right. What if they would have done a Blade Runner TV series? It may have been much more interesting and much more enjoyable. Where our heads are at right now is that we can accept things as a TV series and not necessarily as a to go sit in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about the way what we are comfortable right now with episodic entertainment, is that we're saying that people might not have the attention span for Blade Runner, and that's why it did poorly, because it's too slow paced. And yet people can watch like 8 hours straight binge watching of something that is either lowbrow or highbrow. It's, you know what I mean? Both of those things, like people did that with, Breaking Bad as well. You know what I mean? So it's not just a lowbrow entertainment that people
matter
sit
of fact,
there
just the opposite.
Yeah.
There's a new one on Netflix now. I think it's called Mindfucker. Now I'm being told it's Mindhunter. But it is the 1970s FBI guys. And these are the first guys that come up with the idea that, hey, maybe we should go talk to Son of Sam and Charlie Manson and serial killers just to find out why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And the crimes that take place so far, and I haven't watched the whole first season, but they're talking about the crimes or maybe looking at pictures. They're not running through the streets trying to shoot the guy like it was Seven or something like that. You're just watching guys going, how could someone fucking do that? This doesn't make sense. Because they were just learning this thing of, we used to have to arrest criminals because they robbed banks or were bringing drugs in the country. or, killed their wife. They understood crime.
Right.
But why does a guy go out and see a stranger, kill her, cut her tits off, and make earmuffs out of it, and then want to do that again another 2 months later? That's something, and it has the kind of pacing that we're talking about here. Nothing is rushed.
Right.
Nothing is rushed. I haven't seen anyone pull a gun out or, scream, freeze in it. It's just guys trying to figure out how crimes take place and what we could possibly do to stop that or alert people.
That sounds great. I would definitely be into that.
But you're right. You could sit and watch, I wasn't bothered by the 3 hours.
Right. Me either.
I was more bothered by for 3 hours, I'd expect they're going,
Now, did you experience what I did where people were so antsy in there?
I didn't have enough people in the place to have that feeling.
I mean, they were like, their skin was crawling. They could not sit still. And I've never seen, normally when you see 1 to 2, maybe 3 people get up to pee during a movie, I would say a solid 30 different times. People get up to pee, go get more popcorn, and I was like, oh my God, they can't stand, like they cannot sit
But
here.
you also have to remember, these kind of movies, older people are going to go and they've got to pee more.
That's true.
They can't sit there and hold a gallon in their bladder. Some of them could just end up pissing in their popcorn bucket.
I do get pee anxiety before a movie. Like I've got to wait till the last possible second to pee because I don't trust that I won't have to in a movie block. Because I won't get up. I won't get up.
In the last hour of Blade Runner, I had to use the bathroom. I was like, I'm not moving. This isn't going to happen.
And then you're never enjoying it.
Yeah, all you're doing is holding a piss. It doesn't even make sense.
Shaking your legs, seeing like,
weird pressure inside of me.
But do you think it needed to be an almost 3-hour movie? Could they have told that story in an hour 50, 2 hours? There was plenty that I wouldn't have missed if it wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, there were certain aspects that I think probably could have been cut. I didn't love the Jared Leto stuff as much as Chris did. He wasn't my favorite element of it, but I did love the girl that was with him, like his assistant. I thought was great.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would completely get rid of that because her element in it was great to me.
Yeah, I felt like the Jared Leto thing. I had seen the egotistical genius guy who's living in that so many times in my life. You know what I mean? Like normally Bruce Willis shoots that guy at the end of a movie. So that was just, again, another thing that was brought in that wasn't original. We didn't see the way most humans would feel about living in this.
Yeah, that's true. There wasn't a human reaction.
And they really, to be honest with them, to be fair, Blade Runner didn't have that either. You know what I mean? But we had already experienced the Blade Runner thing. We had already understood, once you start to have thoughts and feelings, are you not human? I got that, 30 fucking years ago. I got it. So in the next 30 years, shouldn't you come up with what's the other thing? You know what I mean? Like, I think we all agreed that we wouldn't go around killing skin jobs back in fucking 82. That, you brought these people in and they have life
have something,
now.
yeah.
They have life. They're experiencing life. And they're experiencing it in a human way. And yeah, I get it. We don't trust memory. Yeah. So now where do you take us? You just retelling that thing.
Yeah, I guess it has been a long time since you would say there's been something that's really unique take on the way we're going to interact with AI. Because we are still, I think we're still fascinated because we're not quite there yet. And I think we also feel like we're right on the edge of it. It does feel like we're right on the edge of a very strange time coming technology-wise.
And we all know that it's bad. We all know that it's bad. There's going to be some good things because we're lazy people. But we know in the long run it isn't good. We've always known this about fucking robots. And we do it anyway. We're still pushing forward. It's, if your kid has any fucking capabilities, you're like, get into robotics because it's going to affect everything in the same way that the computer affected everything 30 years ago. It's going to change everything. We all know that. So what? We're still doing it. We're still fucking doing it. Vladimir Putin said, whoever wins the AI thing is going to control the destiny of Earth.
Yeah.
Actually hear the fucking Russians say that, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't weird. Like, this is just it. It's true. Charlie in Jersey.
Ronnie D?
Yeah.
You sound down. I got you, baby.
Okay.
The movie you want to see is called Brawl in Cell Block 99. Stars Vince Vaughn. Don't watch the trailer. Don't read the Wikipedia. Just go Brawl in Cell Block 99.
You already turned me off with the Vince Vaughn.
No.
You should have kept that from me.
I'm sorry. I'm the worst person ever.
No, I already did see the trailer, and I go, I guess Clint Eastwood is too old to play this part. You know what I mean? Like, they just had...
Is it the law is back in town kind of vibe?
Well, he's he goes into, he's like a middle-aged guy who goes into prison, and he has to use his, as he says in the movie, you want to mess with me, you're going to be dealing, and he puts his fist up with Hall and Oates. That's Modern Family. What's the guy's name on Modern Family?
Oh my God, the dad.
Ty Burrell?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Orlando.
Vito, what do you do all weekend? I never hear from you on the weekends.
I work the weekend job.
What's the weekend job?
The children's birthday parties.
You haven't gotten out of that, huh?
It's just like cash tips is really it really helps me out with student loans and stuff, and just like an extra source of income. And we get paid there on opposite weeks from here, so I'm getting money every Thursday and Friday.
This kid is a worker.
He is a worker.
Vito is a worker. Chris, on the other hand, can't say a good thing about him.
He loves brunch.
Vito is a worker. We got so many projects coming up. I mean,
I know.
It's crazy amounts. That's why, Jen, we're having a big after show meeting, and your job is going to be to keep us on schedule and remind Chris, hey, this is a couple days out. This is a week out. And then Chris said, I'll remind Jen to do that. And I go, that's the exact opposite of what we're looking for. Like, your thing is got to be the big show, but I know you got other projects. Some of them might even want you to probably even hand off. But I saw the list that was put together for everything for Thanksgiving.
There's a lot, yeah.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's an overwhelming amount. This Thanksgiving show is going to be by far the greatest thing we've ever been involved in, or what I'm going to call Stanley's Folly.
Really big show.
The other night, I met this Stan, and it was a Friday night. I was just doing sets, and that was really fun. And then Saturday, I'm hosting. I hop on stage, and the mic wasn't turned on, and I had to do that thing with, can we get the mic on? Can you guys? Fucking changes the entire night. Like, one little technical thing changes everything. And the amount of little technical things that we have on the Thanksgiving show, ridiculous.
There's so many moving parts.
Right. And that's why we can't have this be I got it. We just can't do it.
I understand. There will be meetings and there will be delegation. And that's what's going to happen.
You say that, but I know what just happened with a project today that you didn't let me know about.
Something happened, yes.
Yeah, but you don't tell me, and that's a friend of mine.
I know.
That I have to say all the time. But why wouldn't you at least contact me? Let me know that was coming. So I can't feel that thing that you're telling me to feel. Cannot feel it. I'm concerned about these projects. I want them to go great. A week from tonight, Judah Friedlander Unmasked, Monday, October 23rd, 8 p.m. at the Stand in New York City. Judah Friedlander's new special, America is the Greatest Country in the United States, comes out Tuesday, October 31st on Netflix.
I can't wait to see that. It's going to be awesome. That's how I'm going to spend my Halloween, I think.
The Netflix thing is so odd. I have this little game that I play with Ari Shafir of Audience Pop before he comes up. His thing came out in July. I think it was Saturday night. Biggest pop ever for him. Like, it just takes months and months and months.
Yeah.
And he was telling him, like, Tom Segura said to him, it'll be January before you get the full impression of how well these things do. And isn't that fascinating?
It's so fast. I was talking to Lynn Koplitz about that she's already feeling like a slow buzz. But she was saying they say it's gonna be months before you can even get the real data of how many people are having access to it. And that's the cool thing about Netflix is that it doesn't go away, like you're able to.
But now there's more and more and more. Like when Segura did his, you were like, oh, Segura. You know what I mean? But now I look up and it looks like there's 2 or 3 new ones when I look around. But just when I was like, his new Netflix special, Double Negative, and the people in the room were going crazy.
That's awesome.
And I was laughing my ass off.
That's great.
It's just like, it's like we're doing our own test at the stand of how well and how these things roll out. You got Gail Meets Girls up today.
Yes, Maeve Higgins and Phoebe Robinson. It's a really, really great conversation. Phoebe Robinson is one half of Two Dope Queens, which is like a crazy smash hit podcast. They're both comics, they're both podcasters, and they both wrote books. So they do a lot of stuff.
Sweet. You were telling me that there's a weird, inappropriate Halloween costume out this year.
Yes. So I'm always a fan of the inappropriate, sexy costume, but I feel like this one kind of takes the cake. Who wants to be Sexy 11 from Stranger Things?
Oh, no.
First of all, she's a child and she's supposed to be a child.
She is 11.
She is
11 is 11.
Pretty much her age as well as her name. But then just to be like the high tube socks with the high heels, which obviously she does not wear. But there's a little detail. There's a little detail to the, and an inappropriately short baby doll dress that she does not wear. But there's a detail that I am obsessed with. I realized it comes with an Eggo waffle purse, which is that's the only part I thought was a little hilarious. I'm so obsessed with sexy, weird costumes. It's like something that I think happened maybe in the last, 15, 20 years, where instead of it being, you would always have like sexy nurse,
kitty cat,
sexy kitty cat. Yeah. But now we're taking things that aren't sexy and are characters that have specific costumes, and then we do sexy versions.
By the way, has anyone ever seen a sexy nurse in real life?
No.
I just have bitchy nurses.
They're mean.
Yeah.
They just jab you with needles and they're just like not very warm.
Plus, they're not going to want to have sex with people who were diseased or injured. Like, there's nothing sexy about a hospital.
Sir, you're covered in blood.
I don't care if you're there for 8 hours or 80 days. They don't turn off lights. It's noisy. There's people waking you up for no apparent reason. It's fucking terrible.
But all of those were just like, oh, we've just done a sexy but the sexy version of a costume that just doesn't need a sexy version. Like one of the worst ones I've ever saw is I was at a party and saw a sexy Elmo. And I was like, that's not something we needed. That's not even, you don't need to make that sexy. That's just Elmo. You just pick something else.
Is that a furry thing?
I don't know why. I don't know why that's a costume that exists. Sexy
Somebody
Elmo.
did another furry story, like, what's up with the furries? And I'm like, haven't we already read that story?
Yeah.
We get it. It's cosplay.
They're just enjoying themselves.
It's fantasy. Who gives a fuck?
That's pretty much the sexy Elmo costume that I saw.
It's sexy.
It looks nothing like Elmo. It's just
still
like...
not sexy. It's still not sexy.
It's so weird.
It looks dumb.
I saw one time that was it was a girl. I think she put this together herself. You know SpongeBob's uniform of like he has like a white shirt and shorts. So she had really short booty khakis and then just like a white button-up shirt that covered just the tits. It wasn't even that. And then on her head was a little party hat of SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And that was what brought the whole outfit together.
It's not necessary. These are not things that need to be sexy version of.
Because no guy is like, you know who turns me on? SpongeBob. I'd like to have a chick dress up like him.
This isn't one that I've seen in person, but Chris, just Google sexy corn.
What?
Sexy corn.
Like corn on the cob?
Is a costume that exists.
It's a sexy corn costume.
I don't know why it exists.
That's like a sexy ear of corn.
It's a sexy ear of corn. You know, like I want to be like an ear of corn, but like way sexier than you normally see corn.
It's great for harvest season.
Would you rather be with a sexy Elmo or a sexy Vito?
That's just like a tight black t-shirt and slutty headband.
Slutty headband.
That is a slutty headband.
Oh my god.
Vito, you seem like the type that dresses up, do you?
Yeah, I already know what I'm going to be this year.
Can we guess?
Yeah, you could guess.
That guy in a little costume? That guy
in a little costume.
I'm thinking about going as Obama.
Oh, that's so topical.
Oh, you know what else I hate is if you go to a Halloween party that the guy tries to stay in character all night.
That person's mentally ill.
And he's always like, no one passes the king. He's just like, shut up, dude. Fucking try and just drink.
On SNL this weekend, there was one moment like they were all dressed up in costume and he's on the phone with his boss and he's just like, no, it's Groot. I'm Groot. And that was making me think of like that guy who just thinks that Halloween is you have to play the character to its fullest. I have a neighbor who last year, all the kids have a party in the building and then they give candy out. And there was a guy who was dressed as Dracula. He's a dad. It was in our building. And he was just like trying to talk to me as Dracula. And I couldn't get away fast enough.
God.
And I was like, I'm not one of the children.
Like just in like the Transylvanian accent.
I'm an adult. I just happen to be short. Please don't talk to me as Dracula.
I guess it's going to be Trump this year again, right? Well, that will always be...
Trump is going to be a big one.
But it almost seems like that's too played out.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a sexy Trump.
There is a sexy Trump costume.
Good.
There's sexy Trump.
It's no fun. It's the same as if you were sexy Elmo. Doesn't fucking make any difference.
You know which one really bothered me I saw once was sexy Marie Antoinette. And here's why this bothers me. Because that's already a sexy costume.
Right.
She's already very busty, so you've got that. But instead of having a full-length traditional gown, it was like a mini skirt version of that. And I'm like, yeah, it's already a sexy costume.
Here's the other thing I hate. Somebody who wears a costume that takes up too much room, like they're a washing machine or something. Like, dude, I'm trying to fucking have a party here, and yet you keep banging into me, man. Why did your costume so big and awkward?
One year I went to a Halloween party at my school as a box of puppies. So I had the cardboard box, and then around me were puppies that were supposed to be puppies for sale. And then I was a dog within that box. And immediately after getting there, I was like, this is not cool. I can't dance. I can't do anything. And it was the night that I had my first like real kiss. So there was a giant box in between us with puppies that I was trying to like kiss. And immediately I was like, this was not a smart choice.
Fucked up with the puppies.
This is not an adult cool costume.
Should have been sexy Elmo.
I know. And that's the age that girls are already starting to think like that. Like, what will boys think I'll look cute in? And I was just like, I'm a puppy in a puppy box.
So we never got around to guessing what Vito's going to be.
I think he's going to be...
I'm going to guess sausage.
Sausage?
Spicer? He could be Spicer?
That's done though, right? He can't be Spicer now.
No, yeah, that's
last
over.
year.
So I'm going to be Biggie Smalls, but I'm not wearing blackface. That's a big part. There will be no blackface a part of this, but I'm going to wear the colorful hoodie, crown, and sunglasses. and a big gold chain, and I'm going to be Biggie Smalls.
It's terrible, dude.
It's not a good idea.
It's not good, and without the blackface, no one's going to know who you are. You got a blackface it. I got shoe polish, and I'll do you up before you go on the street.
He's just like, my boss said it would be fine.
Hey, Ray, Minnesota.
Yeah, I saw on the news over the weekend that Party City, there's a Halloween costume. It's called The Wall, to make fun of the wall that President Trump wants.
Oh, okay. That's great. I would just think
Sexy
Pink Floyd.
Wall.
Pink Floyd, The Wall. I guess Harvey Weinstein's going to... Why don't you go as Harvey Weinstein? It's perfect for you, Vito.
That's good.
That way you can grow up and sexually assault like you do at every party.
And then you're like, it's part of my costume.
Yeah.
I stay in character
I
all
can
night.
get you a movie and you're just grabbing people.
Just keep asking people for massages.
So weird, man.
Or then maybe, you know what? This is a good idea. You could use the same effect that they did with Dick in a Box, but it would be like the potted plant.
Oh,
Really
tie it
good,
in.
right?
You just got a potted plant that you're jizzing
Vito,
in all night.
could you do that?
Yeah, jizz in a potted plant. Lena in Jersey.
Hey, on that blackface comment, my kid is going to be 8, and he wants to be Michael Jackson, but he wants to be Thriller Michael Jackson.
All right.
He wants to do the whole face and the hair, and I'm thinking just a jacket and just be a zombie and call it a day.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. No, blackface is not going to work under any circumstances.
No, do not do it. I think we're at the point that we've all learned, and yet every year it's like check out this frat party where these people
Yes.
are all dressed
We'll
like,
say
and
it.
you're like, oh no, come on.
It's always like an Old Miss or something too. Hey, there's a new book out. When Richard Lewis was here the other day, he was talking about it. And that's The Improv, an oral history of the comedy club that revolutionized stand-up. It's written by Bud Friedman and Trip Wassell. It's available online and in stores. And part of the real fun of this, since it's an oral history, is different comics are just telling their own personal stories. And honestly, believe it or not, one of my favorites was Joe Piscopo, because he was there in the early days and was just talking about hookers and muggings, and it just came off like the deuce,
Right.
you know, like to come in from Jersey and be like, oh, I want to do stand up, but that's, you know, you're gonna have your regular fear of doing stand up, but also the fear of just being in Times Square in 1972 or whatever it was. Zoe Friedman is online with us right now from Los Angeles, California. Zoe, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Good to talk to you. So this book was a while to put together, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always sort of been my hope of my dad to write a book.
Uh-huh.
And it was definitely underway for a while, and I think it turned out great.
Well, like I said, one of the interesting things is no matter what year you go to, someone's the new guy. You know what I mean? Someone that we know who's famous now was like, I couldn't believe it, I got in, you know. So you're going through this in the 70s, but then you also have Jimmy Fallon talking the same exact way in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know?
What's amazing to me, when I did the Epic special, what I found is the improv obviously is so special to me, grew up there, but it touched everybody's lives in such a significant way. And it was that sort of mentor-mentee or competitive that people came in, they've heard the legend of the club or the person who's there, and they just settled in and learned from them and found their people at the club.
But isn't it interesting that everybody finds their own personality there as well? Like their own stage personality. Like you can't be the next Richard Lewis. You know what I mean? You have to be yourself.
Your own.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think of that time, there was not a prototype to go. I mean, there were, but I think at the time of Richard Lewis, it was also that sort of time, you know, in history and culturally where people were kind of that self-exploration, the therapy, the, you know, that the sort of the therapy movement, that Richard's sort of in the angst and putting it on stage, and that's personal, right? You can't, that's the difference of, Take My Wife Please, or sort of somebody writing your own material. It was people writing their own material from their own personal experience, and that kind of me focus was part of the culture, like talking about, my childhood and my abusive parent or whatever.
Yes.
But I do love how different, everybody, was, and how they had their own personality. But to that point, what you said, Ron, about the comics before them, they were always the new person, was when I was reading the book, and I didn't know this. So Andy Kaufman, right, who was, as a child, the best comic you could ever watch, right, and hosted Children's Cabaret where I was doing my cartwheels. But, it was really interesting that a lot of comics had no patience for him and thought he was not funny. Point blank, Robert Klein, Mike Preminger, Ed Bluestone. They're like, I don't know what he was doing. They wouldn't know comedy if they didn't bite him on the ass, right? And that was interesting because I had no perspective that people didn't find him funny, but he was doing something so different than all of them. He wasn't the monologist. He was exactly the opposite, and people had no time for it.
And so you were a little girl, so you just loved that and accepted it, right?
Exactly. By the way, both my parents loved him, and my parents, my Silver and Bud, that is, they didn't agree on a lot of things. They both loved Andy. They both got duped by Andy and his foreign man as the character he went on stage with. And as a comic, as a kid watching comedians, a lot of the jokes, Bob Shaw making jokes about oral sex, I laughed, but I didn't understand. But, I understood Andy's, at least a level of it, because it was costume and imagination and singing and Mickey Mouse, and, it was awesome.
Well, Richard Lewis was in here the other day, and he was saying that he hated following Andy because Andy might take the audience outside. You know what I mean? You didn't know what he was going to do, and you had to, to restart from that position. But I always find this interesting too. There was an entire generation of comedians who didn't like anything that was going on, the improv, the Catskills guys, and yet one guy, Rodney Dangerfield, was totally accepted in that world.
True, right? But he also, I think, evolved late too. Found his his own sort of persona and sort of the truthfulness of who he was later in his life, right? So was he would you say he's like the Catskills, Take My Wife Please, and then still was accepted?
Yeah, but I think there was also something street about his personality, that he was never truly older. You know what I mean? Because he was very connected to everything that was going on. He was very hip. He was a very hip guy.
And he was old since he was probably 30.
Right. Ever since he was a young guy, he seemed old.
Totally.
Part of my favorite part of the book, and I'm not sure I ever knew this because I talked to Bud the night that this guy died, and Bud was very nice about him, is David Brenner and Bud Friedman did not get along.
Yeah, that was interesting. David, that was one that my parents didn't see eye to eye on. My mom really liked David, and my dad did not. And, personal choice, my dad definitely picked his favorites and supported them, and David wasn't one, which was frustrating. But my mom saw, a good comic in him, and sort of nurtured him. And he came into the club, into the 80s and early 90s in New York because he was really devoted to the club and my mom. But yeah, they didn't get along, and I didn't really know that. I would see him for years on Letterman, right? When I worked on Letterman, he would come in and, but he never brought up any of that. He was so beyond that, I guess, doing pretty well, But yeah, that was a loss, an early loss. It's kind of sad.
But it's also life, right? There's always that thing. A lot of times if you ever think I'll introduce two people and they're really going to hit it off, and then you find out that they don't at all. It's just something that chemically happens between people.
I also think it's cool too, though, that, whether those things could be personal or they could be just a matter of taste, that you've picked that this is the person to say this is what's great comedy. That's not for me, but this is how I want to present it. I think is pretty cool and unique when it comes to like a venue that could be just like life changing for someone.
Yeah, and embrace sort of all of it, right? You know, and it's funny, like when I was doing the Epic special and I asked like Klein and I asked Seinfeld, I asked everybody about my parents because even though that's not what the show that Epics wanted, I was curious. And there were a few people, like Robert, Klein, and Jerry, who were similar. They came from fairly good families, like whole families that came in, and they had like similar style. And Jerry looked up to Robert and all of that. And I asked about my parents, like, were they influential personally, or was it just the improv, right? And Jerry said, look at me, I'm pretty aloof, right? I wasn't looking for parents. I had parents. I loved the club, but it wasn't specifically your parents. And that's fine, and I think there's truth that stage was special, and came at a really special time. But I also think when I hear my dad laughing in 1972 at a Richard Pryor special, Up in Flames, when they filmed at the Improv, or my mom talking about certain comedians like Mort Saul or Dave Wright doing political stuff, like they were not backward-facing people. They were always forward-facing people, and they were not racist, and they were not conservative. And I think if it was a club that was opened at the same time with two different people, then the improv would have been different. So even though, and I get it, Jerry wasn't there looking for, parent proxies, right? Either was Klein. I think who they were as people impacted, allowing people getting up and doing whatever they want or finding their voice or, whatever it is. I think that they actually had more to do with it than maybe even Jerry realizes.
Well, I don't know. Jerry might have even said the same thing about his own parents. There's, there's something very cold there.
I'm a little aloof person. I don't, that's not what I went there for. And Klein sort of said the same thing. He goes, but Bette Midler, it was like she was looking for parents, and they kind of came in and, it's interesting.
I tend to agree with you, Zoe. I think that if you look at what Bud and Silver Friedman did with that club, Bill Graham in rock and roll did the same thing. Bill Graham is historically remembered for being somewhat of a taste maker. You know what I mean? Like you book the acts that you want. Those people go on the TV. There is a pebble that has hit the pond now. You know what I mean? And you just cannot figure out mathematically what this club and these two people, what effect that they had on our society. It's just, it's too hard to even figure out.
Well, it's too hard, and also I think it had everything to do with what was going on politically. There was revolution at hand. There was civil rights going on. There was, equal rights. There was war going on. So the role of the comedian, we talked about this, right? The role of the comedian changed, and the improv was there as like a permanent soapbox to give voice to it, right? And that the people that created that box or that soapbox were people who were progressive and liked that reflected to them. So the comedians were sort of on the front line, and it could have been a different outcome if it was two different people that opened. Also, what didn't start as a comedy club, which was funny, just the story. And what I love about this book, and you mentioned it, is that it is this oral history. It's not just my dad's perspective. It's the spine, right? Yeah. The historical chronology, which I love reading, but I love also all the comics talking about what came before them, who was in their time, how they were impacted. But I also love the non-celebrity, like the first publicist, like all of those people who also, my dad is who he is, and he always was a star. Like he always loved celebrity and stars. That's how he started. That's not what grew, and that was a fun perspective to hear from somebody else's, mouth. And I loved my mother was interviewed, and I love that my stepmother Alexandria Friedman was interviewed, and it allowed a much more holistic perspective of the world, which I loved as well. I thought it was really cool.
And it is true about like comedy that it would be impossible for anybody to know now how big Freddie Prinze was or how big Jimmy J.J. Walker was, right? And that's when a lot of these guys, like Letterman, would come in and be like, well, I'll never be as good as Jimmy J.J. Walker. You know what I mean? Like that's just, that's out of my real. You know what I mean? Like
he was he was a huge star.
And those things 3 or 4 years later don't matter as much to people. You know what I mean? Suddenly there's a change, and then the clubs have to shift that. But I also think that there's a better chance of going into the improv and figuring out where people, what turns people on or off than there is watching it on a television show, because the TV audience knows that they're on TV. You know what I mean? They know to applaud for this or hiss that, you know?
Yep. There's nothing like the live stand-up experience. There just isn't. I mean, I think it's better that people have comedy in their lives however it comes, right? Whether it be, I mean, look, Netflix, all those specials, but there is nothing like live comedy at all. Like, again, I think it's great people laugh and seek it out on television, but hopefully what won't happen with all this proliferation of all these specials, right? Like, and not everybody should have an hour,
right?
Or is ready for an hour. Hopefully people won't stop going to see live comedy, which is almost what happened in the 80s with so much comedy on TV, right? Mm-hmm. That it sort of cannibalized itself. And I hope that's not what happens, because that sitting in a club, listening to other people laugh, even if something's not making you laugh,
yeah, it's
infectious.
It's amazing, and I would agree. I feel like it's a difference between watching porn and having sex. You know what I mean? Like watching porn, not bad, but having sex is just a different level. When you take a step back from prior by watching it, the danger gets kind of taken away, and that happens with comic after comic. It's just a different experience.
I would also say too, if you're in the audience and a comic does a joke that doesn't make you laugh, but it makes the room laugh, you have that experience of stepping back and seeing how that person was able to manipulate the audience to do that.
Right.
And suddenly you get a moment of looking at it as a craft, even if it's not something that's funny to you. Where I think if you were watching it on a screen, you'd be like, well, that wasn't very funny. I don't know why they were laughing. You know what I mean? But when you see faces around you and you're in the middle of it, it's really cool to step back and go, wow, he did something there.
Right. It becomes so experiential that even if it might not strike your funny bone, you're still part of the wave, right? You're still either observing it, and I like your analogy about porn, I think that's right. I mean, it's that experiential piece of it, and there's just nothing like it, So, for all your listeners, keep going to see live comedy, right, guys?
Bud is going to be here in New York for a book signing Thursday, October 19th.
That's right. He is going to be on Friday, actually, October 19th from 6:30 to 8 at Shakespeare and Company. He's flying in New York right now. He has not been to New York in a couple of years because he had a stroke, and he's good, but he hasn't traveled. So I'm really thrilled that they're making the trip for this, and they're going to do a nice event, I think a private event at the Friars Club. I got in trouble on social media for talking about the book signing in L.A., and people are like, oh, my God, the book, and you should come to the Improv. There's a book signing, and I'm inviting people, and I just got my wrist slapped. They're like, it is not an open event, so stop inviting me. So I know now that the open event is at Shakespeare and Company.
Well, I love that it's there, too, because this is a real New York bookstore, and this is a guy, Bud Friedman, who truly is a legend on both coasts. Zoe, thanks so much for calling us. That was great.
I always love talking to you guys. You make me feel so welcomed, and I love talking about, I'm a comedy nerd, second generation. I'll talk comedy with anybody. I love it.
All right, take care, darling.
Love it too. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. See you soon.
Love
Bye.
her.
She's great.
Just love her. She, what was she doing? I guess Letterman show, right? For many years.
Yeah. Booking the comics on Letterman show, which is just like a unique gig.
Encyclopedic mind about stand-ups. But yeah, there's certain folks that, they're just by starting a business changed the way a lot of lives went. It's always fascinating to me,
And I love too what she was saying about how a comedy scene, as seen in art, is so reactionary to the world around, whether that's a negative thing, whether it's a positive thing, that comedy, just like music, can be a reaction to what is popular, or what is in the news, or just that the world feels like shit. And so shouldn't we all get together and laugh in a room?
I always find comedy clubs to be so fascinating too, because there's a certain magic to why a room works that has to do with how that room was put together, but also like who their audience is. Who are the people who come quite a bit? And is the audience hack or is the audience hip? Are they too hip? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are they only looking for a certain type of comic, because I owned a comedy club, and there was nothing worse to me when I felt like the audience was loving somebody that I considered way too broad over somebody that I thought was, did
it just make you want to go, everyone get out?
Yes. I have to redo my entire mailing list because you're fucking idiots. And there were, like, I hate to say it, but audience will react to a guy with a guitar singing funny songs. They will react, to a prop comic. And like the guys in the back are bitching about it. And you're like, we're also selling drinks here, dudes.
Yeah.
Vito, what happened with your stand-up? It was going so well. You did one night.
I did that one night, and I just felt really good, and I had such a high that I got afraid of going back and tempting fate.
That's how all success stories start.
Yes, it is. Fear.
It's strange.
I'm writing a book.
Doing something good once and then going, I'll never do it again, and then walking away from it.
I'm writing a book right now called Giving Into Your Fear. And it's just about how to not be successful. Now, you ever been to like the success or self-help part of the bookstore? It's just giant.
Yeah.
But the self-destruction part of the bookstore, very, very small.
That's where you come in.
And I'll be the guy. I'll be at Shakespeare Company.
I like the idea of you also going like, here are some, like 10 great tips on how to get yourself out of something.
Yeah.
Like stuff that is just like, this thing would be good for you. How to walk it back.
I've written a chapter called Don't Approach Her. And it's about finding that special somebody. And why set yourself up? You know what I mean?
Just stare creepily.
Yeah. So give in to your fear. Look for it. Now, I got a thing from Jeffrey Gurian. Would I write a blurb for his new book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a blurb that I thought was nice and funny.
Yeah.
Haven't heard back.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on,
not heard back.
You have to show me the blurb because I'm very interested in what you would write.
I may have it on my phone somewhere. But I felt it was very sweet. I felt it captured him.
Yeah.
And, as a special favor, I really didn't go into the book. You know what I mean? I got to find out where I put it, if I got it on here. But, I did not get the email back of, dude, thanks so much. That means so much to me.
It's ignored. Judah Friedlander Unmasked, that's happening next Monday, October 23rd, 8 p.m. at the Stand in New York City. Go to ibang.com for a chance at free tickets. Judah's new special, Judah Friedlander, America is the Greatest Country in the United States, comes out Tuesday, October 31st on Netflix.
Gail, you and I are going to our first big play opening.
Yes. That's Thursday night, right?
Thursday night, yes.
This is the opening of Lisa Lampanelli's new play. Is it a one-woman show or it's...
No. Look, it's an actual play.
Yeah.
Look at the poster.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm very, very excited about it. Stuffed, I believe it's called.
And we're also having passes to the after party.
Woohoo!
Where hopefully we'll wait for the reviews to come in.
It's a hit! I'm just going to keep yelling that.
I don't care if Klein was enthralled. I was there. They were screaming, Arthur, Arthur. Everyone who is a fan of Al Pacino hates that movie.
Really?
And I adore it.
I like that movie. I didn't know that people don't like that movie.
Come on. Living with you is like eating milk and cookies. It's basically a kid's movie.
Yeah.
And there's some sex in it. You know what I mean?
It's true.
They were yelling, Arthur. What's that comic's name? It was an old Alan King.
Mm-hmm.
Alan King. I always thought that he was fucking fantastic. And a lot of people give Alan King the credit for being the first storyteller on stage.
Really?
And the first suburban comic. Like, he would talk about life in the suburbs when the suburbs were like 5 years old. You know what I mean? Like, people don't realize before the 50s, like in the 40s, the suburbs just didn't exist.
Yeah.
You either lived in the city or you lived in a farm or small town. But those blocks of houses started with a lot of guys coming back from the war and getting the GI Bill. All that money came from the GI Bill of getting loans.
I didn't realize that was those two things were tied into each other. Like
think pre-war, you were in the Depression, so nobody got a loan.
Right.
And then, something like a couple million guys came back from fighting the war, and they were like, look, if you guys want to go to school or, we've got stuff set up, why don't you buy a home for yourself and marry that gal? And we really appreciate what you did with that whole war thing. I can't tell you how nervous Hitler made us. So, yeah, those things, like, even on the block that I grew up on, if you see this stuff, like, we moved from the city of Chester to Upper Chichester when I was like 3 or 4 years old. You'll see my block. There's no fences and there's no trees. It's just basically all baby trees and stuff like that. So that whole thing was a field, and then it became a whole block of houses.
Right.
It used to be called, when I was younger, the new development. So you would go say, we're going to go play in the new development. You would go into a bunch of unfinished houses that they were working on.
Oh, that sounds fun for kids.
It was fun, and from what they tell me, dangerous. I remember one time me and my friends were in some houses, right? We were fucking around. And the men came in, right? The men, we used to call them.
The men are here.
And I am so little that I couldn't, I'm looking under his belt. That's how little I am. And I've basically done a B&E, right? Me and my friends are playing in someone's home that's already been paid for. It's just not finished yet. So they come in yelling, you kids, blah, blah, blah. So I turn around and we all start running. We're running down these unfinished cellar steps. And I go ass overhead. I'm falling all the way down the steps, hit like a dirt floor. And we were going to run out this thing, right? This fucking root cellar thing. And I go all the way down it, hit that dirt floor, and come up running. And I'm hauling ass. And they're yelling, are you okay? Are you? And that's the last shit. Like, they saw a little boy fall down steps in their home. They must have been freaking the fuck out. Unfinished steps, right? And all I wanted to do was fucking motor out of there. And I had fucking scrapes and bruises and shit. And I think I told my mom that I was in a fight rather than tell her. Because they just said, don't go in those houses. Because there would be ditches and stuff that they would be building that would fill up with water from the rain. Little kids could drown in this shit. It was just unfinished stuff. But we used to go in there and steal wooden nails so we could make forts in the woods. And not one of us could fucking hammer properly. Always remember our forts were just these banged around nails that
we would bend. Yeah,
we would bend them. It seemed like.
I remember we built a tree house in the woods, and all the nails were like that, and we did the the boards going up so you could use it as a ladder, but it was just like so rickety and shitty.
Terrible.
And I was like, now I understand why adults tell you don't do shit like that.
They beg you.
We didn't have the carpentry skills to be doing things like that.
Arm strength.
But I can't imagine these kids who get to break into a mini mansion. You know what I mean? They have an entire building to play in. So you saw the Spielberg documentary?
I did, yeah. I watched the first. I cut it in parts for myself, so I watched the first half. So I'm past, let's say, Color Purple.
Well,
It's just happened.
You peaked a while ago, so you can watch half of that and be happy. All right, let's break, and we'll talk about the Spielberg documentary on HBO, because I mean that guy was he was fucking something else, you know.
At Dish, they believe in the power of listening. They believe in it so much that Dish is the first TV provider to partner with another great listener, Amazon Alexa. Now with Dish, you can use Amazon Alexa to control your Hopper DVR using just your voice.
With Dish and Amazon Alexa, you can do things like find your favorite show, search for family movies, or find your team's game in an instant. Tell Alexa to pause, resume, and rewind live TV and recordings without having to touch a remote. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the new way to watch TV hands-free with Dish and Amazon Alexa. Dish, tuned into you.
To learn more, call 1-844-CALL-DISH or go to dish.com or visit a local retailer near you. Requires internet-connected Hopper or Wally and Amazon Echo, Echo Dot, or Amazon Tap. Other restrictions apply. For full details, 1-844-CALL-DISH. Dish, tuned into you.
Hey, it's the Bennington Show. A week from tonight, we'll be at the Stand in New York City, unmasked. Judah Friedlander, this Monday, October 23rd, 8 p.m. at the Stand. Judah has a brand new special, Judah Friedlander, America is the Greatest Country in the United States. That comes out Tuesday, October 31st on Netflix.
It's going to be a great night.
Judah's so goddamn funny. I'm thinking this is going to be one of the best. And we always have a great time when we take this out to a club. It's always,
especially the Stand is it's going to be really fun there.
Yeah, it's a great night to come out for, and I'm very, very happy for Judah. And I got to tell you, I never thought Netflix would buy something that he just shot himself. I can't wait to see this. I'm going to see it either tonight or tomorrow night. All right, it is the Bennington Show. Your Philadelphia Eagles are 5-1.
Yes.
Chris Stanley, your Giants, who, let's face it, you really don't follow, are 1-5.
Yeah.
And on a big win streak and heading towards what I believe is going to be one of the greatest comebacks in history.
I mean, if they get, let's say, 8 more wins in a row, that could get them into a wild card, which I would be happy with, but
I think a wild card maybe is. Yeah, I think 9 wins is not. I think there's a good chance that you could do a wild card this year, because I see everybody losing on any given week. Do not gamble this year. Like if any of these teams won or lost, I'm not going to be shocked. I didn't see Atlanta losing.
No.
Over the weekend, I thought Atlanta was really one of the elite teams. I thought Green Bay was an elite team. I thought fucking Minnesota was destroyed because they lost their quarterback and went with a kid. You just can't tell anymore. And I don't know what to even do with New England. I mean, they're trailing to the fucking Jets. I got a lot of people writing to me, sickened by Vito because he claims to be a Jet fan. And then when his team starts winning, he's disappointed because he wanted a first-round pick. And you never even know in football how well your first-round pick, you know what I mean? It isn't like basketball where you're like, oh, this kid's a baller, he can play. You just don't know how anyone is going to adapt to the NFL.
Plus, Vito, you felt that way after one loss. Like, it wasn't like halfway.
He's not a football fan. He's a Mets fan. There's certain people that are they say, yeah, I'm a fan, but they don't live and die.
You're baseball first and
Yeah,
foremost.
baseball first and foremost. Like, even though I played football, I just like watching baseball better. But I am a Jets fan. I'm not going to get my hopes up because I've seen seasons where we had a really great team and didn't go all the way.
You're
and
too young to be cynical. You got to be my age before you're cynical. I see Big J. He's so thrilled. And he say, do you believe? Yeah. Do you believe? I go, yeah. Now after, beating Carolina, they got as good a chance as anybody.
Yeah. That was a pretty big win because, as you were saying before, the other wins against
losing teams, yeah.
Less than teams.
But there aren't, and I'm going to throw Philadelphia into the mix here. There aren't any great teams yet. There isn't a great team that impresses me. There's good teams, and there's less than good teams. But the parity thing has taken over. Taken over this fucking league. It's 100% now.
Yeah.
You just can't tell. And any one injury can, fuck you up. And every team has them in somewhere. You know what I mean? Every team is like, we're losing 3 of our best guys. Yeah, but so's the other side.
Yeah.
You're all playing with less than great.
Ugh, I hate when I hear news about that stuff. It always makes me feel so terrible.
Well, I watched Aaron Rodgers live, and
what was the injury?
To his collarbone. He broke his collarbone, I think, on his throwing arm, too.
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to see him back. And if you do see him back, it's going to feel like you're throwing with a broken collarbone.
Ugh.
And a broken bone takes a while to mend, but then your arm doesn't bend the same way. It'll take till next year before you'll know that he's straight up Aaron Rodgers. But if you're a Packer fan, this is your 9/11.
Yeah, that's horrible. It's so sad.
In our case, our 9/11 was actually 9/11. It wasn't even
I don't
sports.
want to say that's kind of worse.
Yeah, I would.
I don't want to make theirs seem less than, but
I'll tell you a 9/11, and that's fucking fires out in California. It's something like over 5,000 houses. This is something on the East Coast that we cannot even imagine.
No, just a wall of fire moving across the state. It's so scary.
You sent in a video of these 2 dude bros that were attempting to get out. And I turned it on just when I saw, what's the title? It's 2 bros, right?
Yeah, 2 bros.
So I see 2 bros and I think it's going to be funny. No, it was fucking pure terror. Go ahead and hit it for a bit.
Oh my God, dude, we can't. Oh my God, dude. You're gonna have to cut to the left. That's all. Open the gate. Open the gate. I can't breathe.
These guys are trying to dive out of this fire. He had to hop out and open a gate to get out of this place.
Look at the embers going everywhere. That's insane.
They're in fire right now.
We're gonna fucking die, dude. We gotta get out of here.
It's a fire.
This is unbelievable.
Just let it blow by. Just let it blow by.
Let it blow by. Who would even think of that?
Dude. We'll be all
Get
right.
out of there. We got this.
You don't think we should just charge? I think it'll be easier on that side. Yeah, we're good. Go. It's gonna be hard to breathe, dude.
Terrifying.
It's like something out of a movie. I can't even believe that that's real life. That's not something that's in.
I never saw anything this frightening in any movie.
It seems like something out of an action movie. They're like, we're going to do a scene where it looks like they're recording. I mean, it's that level, and the images you see just as he's running by, just embers flying. The sound of the
face into his mouth. Go ahead, hit it.
Trying to, but I had it on my lap. I'm sorry.
Even now,
driving into this gorge.
How do they even think they're going to get out now?
Dude. I can't breathe.
Yeah, they're just driving.
Come on, expedition, baby. You can do it, girl. We should have come this way.
We should have.
There's our only option, dude. We couldn't have gone back. There was no way of going back. It was going to blow right through our house. You didn't tell me to evacuate, you fucking asshole. They just got us fucking almost killed, dude. Fucking get help 911 is. It's all right. It'll be all right in this middle. Or maybe not. I can't see, dude. I can't see the road.
We're on the power line right now. It's trail light power line.
My eyes are burning, man.
My eyes are burning too, dude, but we still got oxygen, so we're not dead yet.
We're on the road. We're on the road.
Not dead yet, man. They're amazing, these kids.
Dude, bust through that fucking gate if we have to. I can't get out again, I guarantee it. My hands were burning going out there.
This is unbelievable. This is up on the I-bang.
I can't see.
God, dude. This shit just got caught on fire. The road's on fire and shit.
I know. It's tree.
Good reaction, good reaction.
I can't see the road, but
I can't see anything neither.
We can't stop. We can't continue.
There's something right in front of us, right in front of us. There's a gate, that's a gate. Push through, dude. Push through that fucking gate. We cannot fucking stop.
I can't fucking get through that.
Sorry, girl.
We're out. We're okay. We're okay.
Good job, boys. You're a good boy.
He's tugging his dog.
Let's keep going. Get out of this fucking smoke, dude. My hands.
I mean, these guys were literally in a ring of fire.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that in my life.
I didn't even know that would be what it would look like to be in the middle of that type of fire. I mean, it looks so crazy. It looks like special effects. And then the fact that they're driving and they're hoping that they're making the right choice because you can't see in front of you because the smoke is so thick. They could be driving in a way worse situation and be completely cut off.
Well, this is what we, again, don't understand on the East Coast. How could you be caught by this? It's on the news, it's a week, but this thing moves so fast it could go into a neighborhood that didn't think they were going to get the fire.
Right.
And
there's no way of containing it.
I'm blown away. Blown away by this. Up on the I-bang, you could just see the absolute terror. And I don't know why we called them bros. Was there a reason?
Just a couple of dudes.
What's the other one? There's another one up there too, right? What's the title?
Let me see the title. This is Fire Burns Inside of Tree. And they come across this tree that's on fire, but it's burning from the inside out. It looks like special effects.
Holy shit.
Inside, it's like all hollowed out.
How's this happen?
I have no idea.
No leaves are on fire, but why don't we have hear audio?
In Shelville, and it's going straight up the middle of a tree.
It actually looks like into the gate of hell.
That is the craziest I've ever seen.
It looks like something like Stranger Things or something. It doesn't make sense. But it's completely hollowing out the center, burning on the inside, and then the outside is not on fire at all.
I used to think twisters and tidal waves were the scariest thing.
Yeah.
This kind of fire like this, I can't even comprehend, man. Alan in Sacramento. Alan, how are you?
Very good, Bennington's. How's everything on the East Coast?
Well, doing a lot better than the West Coast, that's for sure, dude.
Well, at least in this respect, yeah, probably. The Sonoma County Sheriff just released a body cam footage from one of their deputies over the weekend that gives a pretty good perspective of what the first responders are going through. This footage is from the first day or second day of the fire, and it's late at night, early in the morning. You get a guy that's driving through a development, pounding on doors, saying Sonoma County Sheriff's. He comes upon another deputy. They're pulling a elderly lady out of a house who's handicapped, and it takes the two of them to get her in the car. It's pretty intense stuff.
Now, we were trying to figure out how some of these people are still left in these neighborhoods. Do they just not evacuate when they're told, or does this fire move so fast that people aren't even prepared for it?
The winds through the valley at that time were about 75 miles an hour.
Wow.
Plus or minus. So what you've got here is a inordinate high-speed wind that's blowing through canyons, blowing through tinder dry vegetation, and it's just a fire trap.
All right, you got this, Chris?
Yeah, from the Sonoma sheriff.
All right, thanks, Alan. We're going to check it out right now. Look at that kind of orange, too.
It's so eerie. And he's just surrounded. I mean, it's...
So I get... Oh, my God, look at that smoke.
Sheriff's office!
It looks like just another world because like the whole sky is just red. It looks like an alternative universe. It's so creepy looking.
Now, we're always talking about first responders. Look what this dude is doing, man. Look how he's risking his own life to go into this building. That's insane.
Screw your shoe! Come on, she's disabled. All right, let me get her feet.
Oh, my God.
Holy shit.
Husband's right behind you. Sheriff 174, we're doing a carry out. Ready? Hold up. There's a house on fire. Go. Oh, you gotta
go.
Go,
dude, go.
Oh, my God.
Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay. Watch your leg. Sir, you gotta go.
He's running through thick smoke. Like, it's so
everywhere
insane.
you see, like normally you think of, okay, the house is on fire, got to get out of the house, but the world is on fire in this. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how these guys...
2-8, can you get out?
I can't confirm the residents were evacuated and banged on the windows, one. But let's suspect everyone home. I copy George. 2-8 is out. I know if the residents got out, he banged on the windows.
I never saw stuff like this before.
No.
I can't even relate to it.
Yeah, it doesn't really look of this world. It's so weird looking.
Sheriff 174, we need to make
Look at the way the embers are just like everywhere.
They're
It's
like snowflakes.
Yeah.
Look at that. Dude.
We all have to evacuate the hill, so we're coming off now.
You're coming off the hill now.
So those people must have called and said we're trapped up here.
Yeah.
And that dude had another guy that I don't even think he knew, just went up and did that on their own.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Look how he's trying to stay calm, but he's like, everyone's going, fuck!
Yeah.
Our two elderlies at 4300 Wallace with
Look at this shit!
I'd be afraid my car was going to explode driving that close to that level heat like that.
I'd be afraid of everything. I mean, literally everything about you wants to get away from fire, and those dudes are in the middle of that.
I'm out with a resident on Reedley. He's at 2020 Reedley. He's safe. He's got 2 tankers with 10,000 gallons of water each.
And again, like we're always talking about first responders and heroes. Look at the jeopardy these guys have brought on themselves by going in to save somebody.
He just
49 Sanford, don't pass. Do not pass.
So they're just even just like
trying to get out.
Yeah. But see, when the wind catches those embers, it's like a tornado of fire.
Holy shit. Tom in Oklahoma, what's up?
Hey, Ronnie B. I'm Tom the cop in Oklahoma.
Hey, how are you, pal?
Long time no talk, but we get in these wildfires all the time out here, man. And I've been 20 years as a cop. The scariest things to do is the wildfires. Because when we're going, like 2 years ago, I was going down this one 2-lane road evacuating people out of houses. And it got so bad that I had to drive on the left side of the highway and follow the flames going along the grass just to get out of there. I couldn't see.
Well, for my whole life, I've seen the wildfires, but you would always be on the outside of the fires because cameras were so big. Now, when cameras are smaller, we're inside the fire with these guys, and I've never seen anything that scary in my life.
Yeah, like I said, I've done a lot of cop stuff over 20 years, and the scariest thing, even, we get tornadoes here in Oklahoma all the time, and that just means you crack a beer and go on your porch and watch them, but with the wildfires, there's nothing like it. Nothing scarier than a wildfire.
And that stuff, because you were on the East Coast before, you weren't even prepared for.
Right. I grew up in Chicago, so I had no idea about this stuff until I started doing this job.
Wow. Well, sometimes
nothing but respect for them guys in California. I mean, I'd rather be in a shootout than go through a wildfire again because it's really scary.
Yeah, those guys, and they only train for this, right? Those kind of firemen. I was watching them today saying they're doing 24-hour shifts. So imagine being in that for 24 hours. Imagine being exhausted. Imagine being 24 hours away from just like regular air. You're either breathing in the tank or smoke. I can't imagine what that does to your body.
Yeah, that has to have lasting effects on your health.
It wears you out. And we had one fire out here about 6-7 years ago that pretty much took out my whole town, and that thing burned for 5 days. And it didn't take out a whole lot of houses, but it burned all the grass. It only took out like 5 or 6 houses, but it burned out everybody's property, all the trees. There's still burnt trees all over the place, and it just exhausts you because once you get everybody evacuated, then you got to go into protection mode and start, making sure that there's no vandals going into the neighborhoods.
Well, they actually said this: 5,200 houses in California are gone. That's a bomb. Gone. That's a major bomb. All right, thanks, Tom.
All right, take care, guys.
See ya. This is Jared in Maine. Jared, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Hey, I wanted to let you guys know on how them trees burn from the inside.
Yeah.
They spread by the root system. When that wildfire is going across, they start embering in the roots.
Really?
And they come up through. We have it over here in the East Coast, too.
So that's going from root to root underground, and then it goes up the middle of that tree.
Yes. That's why it's so hard for them to fight it, because not only they got to fight the fire that's out, they got to dig, try to cut it off. That's pretty crazy.
Wow, I never knew that.
Their job is impossible. These forest fires, when, like I said, they do nothing but train to deal with this. But the job is just so massive. Massive. Here's Michael in North Carolina. Michael.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
It's been a little over a year ago. Fires in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyed about half the area. There's a video of 2 guys in a truck on the side of a mountain. The fire comes on so fast, they're trying to get out of it. And they film the whole way. It looks like a movie. It's insane. They're having to go over top of trees that have fell.
Yeah, they're just hauling ass to get out of there, huh?
Yeah, there's houses on fire on both sides of the road and they're in between them.
It's unbelievable, the footage coming out of this. And like I said, I don't know whether you guys ever watch surfing documentaries, but the difference between what the surfing documentary looked like before the GoPros, you're in the tube, you're underwater, there's a shot from a helicopter. It used to just be a guy on the beach shooting a dude surfing. You're like, oh, surfing's cool. Well, this kind of fire and rescue stuff is the same stuff. This body cam stuff, or just that kid carrying that thing on his own, him and his brother, I think. I'd never seen footage like that in my life. Today was the first time that I ever saw what it would be like to be in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And it's shocking.
It's a nightmare. It really is so scary.
And isn't it weird, like, just this season, we've had major floods, major fires, major earthquakes, major winds. an insane time to see all this stuff happening basically at the same time. John in North Carolina.
Hey there, Ron. I think social media and these body cameras are a great thing because you see these videos and people have a new appreciation for these first responders and what they actually go through. Because, I mean, before body cam, social media was like, oh, you just heard about it. But now you're right there and you have a better appreciation and go, you know what? These guys go through hell. They're not in it for the glory or the money.
No, it shouldn't be. There's not enough money to be in that situation. There's not enough money.
You have to be damn near crazy to deal with that or really have it in your heart to want to do that.
My grandfather was a fireman. He was, I think they called it a tillerman on the hook and ladder truck. He would drive the back of the truck.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, and he would drink a bit, he went out of his way to make me terrified of fires. He would say, look, because we were on the third floor, and he would bitch to my dad that me and my brother had a room in the attic. He would bitch about he didn't feel like that house had an escape plan for us. We had to go straight down. And my dad is like, these kids will be out of this house in 5 seconds. He'd be like, Lee, you don't get 5 seconds. And like, he would always be paranoid about us because kids would go under beds in fires. They would just get scared. They'd go under beds or they'd go in your closet. And he wanted us to go out. He goes, do not go down the steps. Throw yourself out this window. We're 3 stories up, right? He made my older brother swear to him that he would chuck me up before he'd jump. I didn't even sleep that night. I was just laying in bed.
My grandmother also told me because of him, she said, I never sleep naked because my father told me how many women he had to pull out of the house and they would be trying to say, no, don't take me. Let me put my clothes on. And they would be like, you're going to die if you're in here for more than one more second. So she had this fear of not only fires, but being caught naked in a fire and being dragged out by the neighbors.
I always have my robe lays on the corner of my bed when I sleep at night from the same stuff. He was adamant about fires. He just talked about fires all the time. And never in my wildest nightmare did I see anything that's as scary as what's up on that two bros thing that's up on the iBank today. To be inside that fire, it's unfucking believable. Unbelievable. We ought to build a wall around those fires. I mean, we're trying to build a wall. Build a fire wall somewhere. Could you imagine the person who comes up with how we could deal with these fires easily? Because they pop up every year somewhere.
I know.
And you know what? They're not a negative thing in nature, right? They burn off.
Yeah.
It's something like the earth does for itself, like getting a haircut. It's just that people weren't living in all these places before.
Because something happens with the ash then goes into the soil, and it's not a complete loss. It's just like a restart. It's like a phoenix sort of situation. But now I'm hearing this roots thing, which I never knew my whole life. Now I have no idea how you would solve that issue when they're saying they're trying to cut it out from the way it's connecting underground.
Yeah, they got to dig it because roots, I guess, are touching roots. So they probably cut like a moat.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to be at the point where you got that fire taken care of. This fire has been burning crazy for a week.
Yeah.
Week. California, everybody loves California, but there's just scary problem after scary problem. You got these fires and droughts, earthquakes, Bloods and Crips, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, you have those. Mudslides?
I'm going to point something out to any famous man, okay? Do not defend Harvey Weinstein. They're going to come at you hard if you do. And do not attack Harvey Weinstein because someone is also going to tweet, oh, remember that party when you were grinding up on me. You got to stay low, boys. Stay low. Anyone who's defended him, even women, I forget her name, is something Balak or Mayim Balak. She's
Mayim Blossom.
Mayan Blossom. Yeah, Bialik. That's it.
Bialik. Yeah.
Blossom.
It's
That's who
Blossom.
she was. She gave an excuse of how she made sure she never was in situations like that. And they fucking came at her like she said, these bitches deserve to be raped, which she never said. She just said she doesn't live the Hollywood party lifestyle. And she doesn't, put herself in situations where but she was a kid actor.
Right.
She probably heard she was since she was a kid. Look out for the producers. There was a TV show last night called White Famous is the name of it. It's a kid from SNL.
Jay Farrow?
Yeah, Jay Farrow. And there was like 3 fucking scenes that you wouldn't do now because of Harvey.
Right.
One of them starring Jamie Foxx, where he's basically having a meeting while he's banging this chick. Like it's nothing. You know what I mean? And you're just like, ooh, sensibilities changed, boys. Sensibilities changed quite a bit. Hey, Patrick, what's up, buddy?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, what do you say?
Well, you talk about the fires, and they found out that the redwood trees, the big sequoias, they were always worried about, and they were trying to protect them from the fires because they didn't want to lose those trees. But it turns out they actually need the fires to have the plants open up so the seeds of these trees could actually, they don't grow. They can't start new trees without having fires for them. So it became one of those things where they realized they had to have that.
See, nature has this whole way of regenerating itself, right? And we take it personal. That's the big problem. You know what I mean? Since we are humans and we think and we have an ego about ourselves, we're like, this is very personal. But it looks like the system was set up. Death creates birth and,
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel good when you're a human being.
No. It's the same thing with, when they go, okay, what we've decided, we're going to, ban hunting of deer, or we're banning hunting of bear, and then that species becomes too much. And you're like, oh, now we've really fucked everything up. Like, it's...
When I first went to Florida in the early 80s, they were like, we are almost out of alligators. There's not going to be any alligators. Do not fuck with it. They treated the alligators like they were the most precious thing. Like within 10 years, they're like, do everything you can to kill an alligator, please. Please. You see a baby alligator, take a shovel and chop its head off. Anything you can do, because there's alligators everywhere. When I was a kid, the bald eagle, that was done. It was like, they would be like, they announced how many bald eagles. It was fucking next to Dick. And now there's so many bald eagles places.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that they came back that way.
There's a bunch down where my folks live, and I'll be like out in the air going, look, everybody, a bald eagle. And the kids don't even look up in the air. They're like, yeah, I hate those fuckers. They took our dog away last week. But just think, like, humans try to stay alive now. And, we get it. We'll do anything we can to stay alive. It doesn't work for the planet. But now we go running into a vet, like, save my dog. Money's no object. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to save a dog as long as you can. And yet, when it's your dog, you're like, I want this dog to live in pain, please.
I literally would give every penny that I had if somebody told me Birdie's sick, and I'm like, this is what I have. This is save her. Well, you can only buy her 2 years. I'll do it. I'll do
everything I have for 2 years of life.
Worth it.
I had to take my dog to chemo before it died for like 6-7 months. I had to get it registered as a service dog so I could put it in Ubers.
Dude, you wouldn't even take your dad to chemo. You weren't there for him.
Jesus.
Look at him. Why would you laugh about your father passing?
Piece of garbage.
I can't believe he laughed at that.
Why are you laughing like that?
I really I love dead dad jokes.
Well, you're in the right spot there. All right, we said we were going to talk about this Spielberg documentary. Now, I take it everybody here's a Spielberg fan, right?
You can't not be.
Was there a peak for Steven Spielberg? Because I feel this after watching I've always felt this. I felt like he let them bully him into making non-Spielberg movies.
I have a peak. Okay. I say Jurassic Park. After that, it was all downhill for Spielberg movies.
That was kind of what I was going to say. And then I was going to go, is that because I was young and experiencing those movies as a young person? But I would say early 90s Spielberg is the last of those kind of...
Here's what you guys don't know because you were too young. That was a comeback for him.
What?
Yes. He, between E.T. and that, I don't think he had any hits.
I'm shocked that was a comeback film for him.
Yeah, that was a comeback year because he put out Schindler's List. Supposedly, he was shooting Schindler's List, which was exhausting for him. And at night, editing Jurassic Park. They both came out the same year. And I'll say this about Jurassic Park. Ba-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na. I had Jaws 2 on the other night, and it reminds you of how good Steven Spielberg is. Because he had nothing to do with Jaws 2.
Right.
And it was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was really
bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
And I always hated the boats the kids end up on at the end.
The little dinghies?
Yeah, this dinghy. I never liked those boats. It stems from that movie.
What do you mean you don't like them?
Like I feel them. I find them aesthetically unpleasing.
Oh,
Like,
you
I
know
don't
what?
like the type
They're
of
not
boat.
the dinghies. They're like the ones that
That you
it's like
sail like
Waterworld.
little sailboats, yeah.
But it's
why
like
wouldn't you
Waterworld
like it?
one.
Because I think that I didn't like the movie. I
know what it is. You don't swim.
Yeah, that also made me very nervous.
These ones here, right? Like go to the top.
Like these kind of sailboats?
Like these kind, where it's
like a little trampoline.
catamaran.
Yeah,
Catamaran, that's it.
catamaran.
They're really fun though, man.
Are they?
Yeah. It's
I
like
like that you
being
can
on a
turn
fucking
'em.
trampoline out in the water.
Seems too dangerous.
Okay, what year is Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park is like in 92, 93?
Yeah.
93, I believe.
93.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I would, because I couldn't remember, was Hook before Jurassic Park?
Hook was right before, right?
Yeah.
Let's go
91.
through. What's that? Yeah, 91.
91.
So Hook, they killed him on. Killed him. Although, if you were a little kid when Hook came out, you still love Hook.
Yeah,
But-
100%.
I
I mean,
like
I love that movie as a
But
kid.
he got crushed and it lost a bunch of money too. But he was crushed by the fucking critics. And then, all right, let's find his IMDb.
Yeah.
So let's go post E.T.
So
E.T. Poltergeist was giant for him, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And these should be directing, not.
These are directing, yeah.
All right. Color Purple, he took a pounding on. Empire of the Sun didn't do good. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was, they felt like just more of the same.
Yeah.
Always didn't do well.
I don't even know what it always is.
It's a sweet little rom-com. Richard Dreyfuss dies and he's looking over his girl from beyond, trying to help her and being jealous and shit. Then Hook. So none of these were like Color Purple. They went out of their way to give all these Oscar nominations for everything except for director. They went out of their way.
Yeah.
And it is, I don't know whether, the book when it came out was big, so everybody read it, but he did downplay, like he kind of made it look pretty nice and
Yeah.
Disney
Which
to
I
live
thought
in that.
watching the documentary was cool to kind of hear him talk about his own limitations with that work. Like that he kind of says, maybe I really wasn't the best dude for this.
Right.
And, certain things he admits on being too prudish in some things that were sexual, and there's a lesbian storyline that he wasn't comfortable delving into.
To me, this is the most interesting thing, that he's hanging out with all these Brian De Palma, Marty Scorsese. Who's the crazy guy who did Red Dawn? He was like the guy that used to walk around town with a gun on and shit. Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
And
John Milius?
yeah, that's him.
Milius.
So he hung with those guys, right? But he was like a little geek, almost like a little asexual geek. Yet, because they all had film in common, these guys who made completely different films, they kind of dug and hung out together, and they were like comics after the show in a diner, you know? They just were obsessed with
Because they
film.
just had a love of movies. Like, they could all
Right.
just talk movies all the time.
And when you hear, like, Coppola and Scorsese talking about Spielberg, somebody that you would think they probably wouldn't like, because they're just like, oh man, his emotional connection to a camera. They were like saying he's not intellectually there.
Yeah.
He's organically there. He just understands how to create these moments. And they were like in awe of some of these shots. And you would never expect Scorsese to be a Spielberg fan.
Yeah.
You know?
But that he seemed like somebody who was born to have, like, to have an eye that was like the lens of a camera. Like, he just kind of understood how to communicate visuals perfectly.
Now, so for me, if you go back to 70s on, if you go from, because I wouldn't even put Sugarland Express in there, because that was a different kind of film from it. But if you go from Jaws up to Poltergeist, he did 5 movies. 4 of them became major hits. 1 was a major flop.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people who love 1941.
I've actually never seen it. And I was watching in the documentary, like, man, I can't believe I've never seen that.
Well, I think his problem with comedy was his same problem with sex things. It just, he wasn't going to be a funny guy. He was a nerdy geek, but he did know how to create a sense of wonder. But if you look at 4 of those 5 movies, and on Poltergeist, he was a producer, but they said they had to come in and shoot, right? Like, he had to kind of take it over, and he kept the director's name on it. I think it was Tobe Hooper, but there wasn't anybody else who was going to make those movies, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. He was so unique. And when you go back and watch this documentary, when you see him working with little Gertie on E.T.,
that kind of, seeing him work with Gertie and Elliot both, just those moments, it broke my heart when she was like crying, and but the way he's looking at her, like, you can see he's like a little boy inside.
Yeah.
He's like tapping in to who that kid is in him. And he's like, okay, and now, okay, so it's a loud sound and it's really scary. And he makes a sound for her. She reacts, and he gets her so worked up that after they cut, she's still crying, and he's having to comfort her because she's gotten herself so worked up thinking about E.T.
And that is, I believe, the exact shot from when they try to re-kick in E.T.'s heart, you know? And you see her. I mean, she's amazing.
I know.
She's fucking 4 years old. And she's got anything Brando has. I don't understand how acting works.
Dude,
and this is another thing of, I'm not sure how I feel about this White Famous show, but Michael Rappaport is in it as a crazy fucking director. And I mean, he is next fucking level great. He's on fucking believable in this. But you just never, like, to be a great actor, you don't necessarily have to be old or mature or understand the way of the world. You don't have to be smart.
Yeah.
It's some people, they don't even seem like they have to be talented. They just have to be who they are.
You just, like, they can tap into rawness. Either you are raw or you can get there.
You see, here's what I don't understand about film acting, right? Are you totally unconscious of the camera or totally conscious of it and know how to make it work?
I can't. It's so hard for me to imagine, because the very little I've done in front of a camera, it makes me go, oh, I would hate that. Like, stage acting, I totally understand. Right. I understand what's exciting about it. I understand how someone creates the fourth wall in their mind, that's just not there. And the lights drain that out, and the audience is, part of your kind of subconscious rather than, but I do not know how somebody gets to that level and they've got a camera inches from their face, a boom mic here, hot light. I don't understand.
You can see it in this documentary how close all that shit is.
They're so
these
close.
Intimate scenes that you love from E.T. and there's just fucking 50 people.
Yeah.
And I'm saying 7 inches away.
Yeah.
You know, and just a giant fucking camera the size of, and you're just like, and people always say to me, like, oh, you should have been an actor because you're such a great liar, because I could just make up a lie. I don't think I could do that in front of a camera.
Cameras
I think
are
I'd just
weird.
be sitting around looking at the camera or trying to make the crew laugh.
Yeah.
I
Cameras
would be
are
distracting.
Yeah. I don't know how anyone isn't conscious of it being a lens recording. I don't understand how anyone that doesn't mess with your head.
The name of every movie was, Does This Make Me Look Fat?
You just keep standing at different angles. Wait, was that weird?
Like with,
what do you do with hands?
Somebody told me, like, I said somebody takes, I don't know, something about selfies, and they said they bet that person takes 50 selfies before they pick one, and I'm like, that never occurred to me. It's either a bad picture or it's no picture. I would never think, let's keep shooting this.
No.
Like, anytime we have to pose with someone here, I just want it to end.
Oh, yeah.
Just 5 seconds is too long. All right, let me ask Jen about Steven Spielberg. All right? Because when we're talking about him peaking, she wouldn't have even seen it. Now, to me, Spielberg and Disney are kind of the same, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of eternal to me, but I don't know if that's like for young people. So, Jen, are you familiar with Steven Spielberg?
Yeah.
If I said to you, what's the best Spielberg movie, what would you say?
I love Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park is number one. I can understand that. I don't know if that's my top 5 for a Spielberg movie.
I really struggle with my ranking mine, because there are ones that you have like personal connection to versus the one that you think is the actual best movie. Like, I think I have a pretty sure definitive, even though I wasn't young or whatever, I'm pretty sure you could say Close Encounters is probably his best movie. That's probably his best movie.
Do you think so?
I think it is, yeah. I think that you're getting his unique voice, what is great about the way his visuals, the way he interacts with young people, the way he sees, he's in awe of, fear and life and death and all that kind of stuff, all mixed in. I'm pretty sure that's his best movie.
Here's the interesting thing about both Jaws and Close Encounters, and they were very close to each other. I'm not even sure to this day if Richard Dreyfuss is a great actor or even a good actor.
Yeah.
And yet, in those 2 movies, I can't imagine another human being doing that.
In those parts, yeah.
I don't even know. Richard Dreyfuss' story in Close Encounters is so fucking great. I don't know that if you would have needed a single special effect in that movie.
Yeah.
He is a guy, basically, let's suppose there aren't any aliens, right? He's just a guy coming apart at the scenes in front of his children and his wife.
Yeah.
He's lost any connection to them. And he literally walks away from his family to leave the fucking planet without going, what about my wife and kids who I've dedicated myself? He
just walks away.
Walks up that thing. It's fucking mind-blowing.
Yeah.
When you think about it. And I honestly think that it seemed like for a while there he was going to bang the other fucking missing kid's wife.
Yeah.
There was real sexual tension between those two.
Because he couldn't communicate with his wife, and now he's found someone who understands the way he feels.
Interesting.
His obsessiveness, like she was the only other person he could ever relate to.
Right. So it's almost like if he became a drug addict, he'd have fallen in with a drug addict chick. Or if he's suddenly decided, I'm starting a rock and roll band, and everyone thought he was nuts, he'd be with like a rock and roll chick. That's interesting. I
But
never
then-
once considered that.
And like Close Encounters, and of course you see it in Poltergeist, and you see it in a lot of his movies, but I think, and obviously E.T., in that moment in Jaws, when he's sitting there with his son and his son is watching him. Like, it's through the eyes of a child to see my dad is going through something right now and them trying to relate to each other at the kitchen table. That's like what he does best in every movie.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like Close Encounters like kind of magnifies that little moment and makes it like a whole movie of that. Just like E.T. is kind of that, is like through the kid's eyes trying to see something that's bigger than you.
It's, first of all, E.T. is a mind fuck. I know, Chris, you don't like E.T. at all, right?
Never had a real connection to E.T.
That there's that little kid acting in that movie is unfucking believable.
And watching that as a kid, like, I already was a very sensitive child, so I could cry very easy. The feelings I had about E.T. was just like, I don't know if I could watch this again because I was so laid out by it. Like, I felt like I was crying through the whole fucking thing. It was so emotional to me as a child.
Vito, what about for you?
I felt like when I was a kid, there was nothing like the first time I saw Indiana Jones.
The first one?
The first Indiana Jones movie, when I saw that as a kid, like, changed my life. Like, I demanded to go to Disney World, not because of any of the Disney characters, because they had the Indiana Jones experience there, and it was all I wanted to see. And, like, the music.
Ba, 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 ba.
It's always Vito.
So let me tell you something, Vito. When Eastside Dave worked with me, he's a giant Indiana Jones fan. He'll bring up Indiana Jones. Like, and I'm not even making this up. He'll just work it into conversations, right? So the Paris Theater was doing Indiana Jones in the theater, which I don't believe Dave had ever seen, right? He'd only seen it on video. And Karen Allen was going to be there in a Q&A after the film. So we all watched the film together. And it looked like me and Dave and a bunch of Harry Knowles clones. Everybody else. I mean, there was guys wearing fedoras and they were all, it was fucking great. It was, but I can't tell you how bored I was watching that film. It went from a long fight scene into a long fight scene. There's so little dialogue in that film, but Karen Allen is adorable.
She's so cute. She's the cutest thing.
And I think there's this thing that he does in Indiana Jones where the guy is a college professor. You know what I mean? Like, there's almost like a Bruce Wayne Batman.
Yeah.
Like he's a boring college professor.
Right.
You know, that the girls kind of dig and shit. But then he goes out on these adventures against Nazis and there's ghosts and shit. But it's fucking bananas. The world that Indiana Jones lives in is Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.
The whole movie it belongs in a museum. Like, that's kind of a weird concept. You're like,
a terrible
all right, so this
concept.
guy wants his stuff in a museum, right?
In New York. This should be on the Upper West Side of New York. Why? It's fucking Egyptian.
Where it belongs.
When I even go into that museum, I'm like, this is odd that they have all this Egyptian stuff here on the Upper East Side. And there's a pharaoh's tomb. Oh,
very weird. When I was a kid, I thought the Temple of Doom was the best one. And then, like, I had to find out that everyone else was like, that's everyone's least favorite one. And I was like, what? Why? I was like, that's the most entertaining one.
I like the
Short Round. Short Round is amazing.
Hey, Dr. John, look at my squinty eyes.
No time for love, Dr. Jones.
I got a tiny penis and it's never gonna grow. They were, critics were upset with that. But I was just watching it was on TV the other day. And just the weird thing that he's willing to cut that fucking thing to he put a baby in fucking jeopardy and his girlfriend.
Oh
just
my God, is he nuts?
That scene was there too. And it was fucking hilarious. And then when they're just carrying up and they're shooting at him and they're not hitting.
Yeah.
And then all the white people, what took you so long? It's ridiculous. Is that the same one that he goes out of an airplane, but he blows up a raft, or is that the next one?
No, that's in Temple of Doom.
That's fucking. I mean, it doesn't even make sense anymore.
Well, my biggest problem with the series is that, like, I'm not defending the fourth one in any way, but everybody was like, there's aliens now. And like you just said before, the first 3 movies were like magical Nazis, magical Aztecs, and all this other stuff.
Here's what happened in the fourth one. You just don't buy anything. You know what I mean? Like, and the truth is, if you believe in the reality of a movie, they can do something ridiculous. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
But if you don't, and then they do something ridiculous, you blame it on that. But what you're saying is, I don't believe in him. I don't believe that's his son. I don't believe in this thing. I think that's what happened to me that didn't happen to you guys in Blade Runner 2049. I'm just like, Gosling.
Yeah, you didn't buy it.
This is about Gosling. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's got the apartment from The Fifth Element. No, he's living like the guy in Her. You know, just you got to give me something to believe in. This is what all I'm looking for. So, Chris, did we do your best?
I did not give you my top 5.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to give us 5.
We all just gave 1, but okay, go ahead.
Just give me your top 1.
Jurassic Park. It's my favorite.
Yeah, a lot of that might have to do with you being a child.
That's why I say I put that in my top 5, but I am well aware that it has everything to do. Like, I can still remember what it was like being in the movie theater and just being like, shit's real. I mean, there's no way these are fake.
Can I tell you something?
I mean, I was so sure that I was seeing something real that, like, it would be hard to.
I was an adult seeing that movie and was fucking blown away when they would go into that dinosaur valley. I mean, it was amazing.
Like,
I don't know if I would feel that way today, but what happened in Jurassic Park is I didn't quite buy the premise as much as we're talking the other ones. I think you would just need one fucking dinosaur and everybody would show up. I don't think you need to have a park. I don't think you need to ride through that park. You just would have a dinosaur and people would be beating the fucking...
It would
everybody
be more
in
like
the world
King Kong.
Yeah. Everybody in the world would want to see that dinosaur. You don't need to then worry about everything else. So that was, you know, but the way that the dinosaurs looked, stuff like that. So I would say that. The effects in Jurassic Park, fantastic. The movie of Jurassic Park, not as fantastic, not as good. You totally buy into Close Encounters. Oddly, you totally buy into Jaws. It's 100%. You start that fucking ride. It isn't based on special effects at all. At all. You don't even need to see the mechanic. If you never saw the shark, you'd be fine in Jaws.
The thing I think, too, that is great about it is that it's weird to talk about subtlety with Jaws, but the subtlety of, like, the way they handle Brody is pretty amazing. That if you think about other action movies, right, this would be just like the way it does in the sequels, become a thing of like vendetta, and he's got a dark past and he's trying to get over a thing, and then he's got to face his fear. I mean, the guy is afraid of water, and you don't have that hit you over the head moment where he's like, I've got to get in the water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
here's the thing about Brody. He's not a hero. He's a first responder.
Yes.
He honestly believes we got to get this shark before it kills more people.
He has a job to do. Yeah.
He doesn't hate the shark. He's afraid of the shark. He's afraid of the water.
And he's not superhuman in any way. He doesn't have any special set of skills.
Right.
He's just like, this
He's
is my
got a
job.
lucky break.
Yeah, I'm the chief, so I've got it. Yeah.
But if that thing doesn't have that that thing in its mouth, Brody is fucking, he's fucked. He's getting killed. And Richard Dreyfuss just swims down to the bottom and hides and lets his friends die. You know what I mean? Like, he gives nothing back.
Yeah. He's like, Quint?
No. And Brody had already accepted Quint being dead.
Yeah.
That made you feel like Brody had done some military before. You know what I mean? Like, shit happens.
Yeah.
Here's what this is why Spielberg was Spielberg. There would always be little things that scared the shit out of you in Jaws, not the shark itself, but the boat bending a little bit, the barrels going faster. He still had that in Jurassic Park with that fucking water.
Yeah.
That was as scary as anything you had. There was something so big and it's coming because the water's moving.
And that shows you like the impact of a movie. Like anytime I see like water ripple in a glass, it's like immediately the first thing I think of.
Now, has he done a great movie? Were you guys Saving Private Ryan guys at all?
No, I didn't even see it in theaters. I waited to watch it on television.
Seeing the beginning of that movie in the theater was unbelievable.
And overwhelming, like panic attack inducing.
I don't even know. See, I think part of what happened to me is I never got over the first part of that movie to get into the second part. I'm like, well, at least you motherfuckers have a chance to live. Not like you did in the, you know what I mean? You're all on borrowed time right now. Do you guys ever see Munich?
No,
I didn't see it.
It's a film that could have been made by anybody else. You know, any kind of really great director, but there's really great stuff in it. But it's not what we would call a Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
He got very caught up in his Jewishness about a few things after Schindler's List.
I think also War of the Worlds is one that like it gets a lot of shit because I think it really falls apart in the end. But there are things about that movie that remind me of early Spielberg.
I would agree.
Like,
very Jurassic Parky, very Close Encounters.
And the interaction with him, the family, the way you see the daughter and her reaction and fear.
So here's the problem with that one. You didn't need Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? Because he stayed Tom Cruise, but what you want was a Brody. You know what I mean? You never think of Brody other than being Brody.
Yeah.
You know, people weren't sitting around going, hey, that's the dude from the French Connection.
Right.
But Tom Cruise, you have a hard time shaking like, oh, Tom Cruise is going to die here. You know Tom Cruise is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys like AI?
AI again, like that's one movie that's like I saw it once or twice. I didn't love it, but there are some like magical moments in that movie that just kind of floored me, and it's crazy emotional. I mean, like I cry like a baby during it, but I don't know if it's a fantastic movie.
My biggest problem with AI is same I have Blade Runner. I pick humans. I don't give a fuck what you show me.
Right.
I'm picking humans as my favorite. I'm a hometown guy. You know, I pick Philly over an alien. What about Minority Report?
I like Minority Report.
If you ask me if I like Minority Report, I'd probably say no, but I bet I watched it 8 times.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like it would take me forever to list that as a movie that I enjoy, and yet it is an enjoyable watch. Like it is an enjoyable movie to watch.
Somebody, and I didn't see this fucking big giant thing that he had. Big fucking giant, was that the name of it? Came out last year, Vito?
Big Friendly Giant.
Did you see it?
No, I did not see that.
No, that's weird. And when I saw the first review from like Kent, they're like, this is amazing. Spielberg is making a Spielberg. And then the other reviews came out and they were just clubbing it to death.
Really?
And and it didn't draw anybody. He takes that really personal now too when things don't draw.
Yeah.
He's very, very, in this documentary, I highly recommend it. Because this is one of for me, in the 70s or 80s, is like Spielberg was the Steve Jobs of that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 100%. Everything that people ended up saying about Steve Jobs later, we believed about. He was the lead geek, you know?
Right. And that he maybe doesn't have the same type of artistic eye that some of his contemporaries did, but how essential it ended up being. I mean, it really changed movies forever.
Oh yeah, and I honestly think more people make movies, which is the same as making money, because they saw Spielberg than if they saw Trudeau or any of the people, Truffaut, anybody that people sit around and talk about some of the greatest. You look at it's a geek culture there now. 100% geek culture. By the way, that's another thing that got to me. I think that we watched a geek movie with the second Blade Runner, and the first Blade Runner wasn't made.
You thought so?
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way.
Yeah,
like, I didn't
really
feel
did.
Like it had that Star Warsy or superhero element to it that really turns me off.
You don't have to be that. I didn't mean that by geek, but even his last film was visual first. Visual first.
Yeah.
Where and visual and hey, look at this technology. Isn't this technology great? And I don't think Scorsese ever went, let's show off the technology. You know what I mean? Let's give them.
Oh yeah.
Let's show them the amazing technology that we have. I forget what I was watching the other day. There was some fucking TV show where they got a shot of something, and he goes like this to his editor. Okay, expand that for me. Make it larger. And he goes, that doesn't happen. And he goes, what are you talking about? I've seen it in a million movies. And I remember Blade Runner had that and on, you know what I mean? Where we just wanted, they were just...
Enhance.
Yeah,
oh,
enhance it.
That was Killing Gunther.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny.
And he turns around and goes, that doesn't exist. We don't have that.
It's like, I've seen it. Just enhance it, please. Zoom in and enhance. It's not a real technology.
That was hilarious. Ba 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 ba. Life finds a way. I remember one time, Jeff Goldblum was coming in here, right? And Chris was so excited, and he goes, "Jeff Goldblum's always been the coolest." And I go, "Do you even know what cool means?" He never had a.
I mean, he's weird.
Yeah, he's strange. But even Jeff Goldblum knows that he isn't cool.
Yeah.
But because Chris saw him when he was a little kid, he thought he was the cool dude.
I thought he was the cool, yeah. That Dr. Malcolm Ian, I think, was his name. And that guy's the cool dude.
Yeah, that wasn't the kind of cool we're talking about.
No.
I spotted him at the gym one time. He was doing the bench press, and I saw him looking around for someone to spot him, and he just goes, can you...
Isn't it weird that's... not an acting style, that's who he is.
Yeah, it was like what the person he plays on in movies and stuff was who spoke to me at the gym.
He was doing a play, and I told him that you were a player. He wanted to hear everything about you, right? And I'm like, this is odd. And then Fez got him to sign some things so that we could give them away later, right? And I wasn't there, but Fez tells me the story, and I think about it all the time. So he's going through his stuff, right? And then he has a Jurassic Park that he's going to sign. He goes like this, "Oh my God, look at this, Jurassic Park." Like he hadn't heard of it in 20 years. Like it was something that wasn't coming up every day in his life. And that should be a joke. A cool guy would make a joke out of that.
But that's just him.
Yeah, a weird guy would just not even think that was funny.
I honestly think that him in Life Aquatic is just who he is. I think he's just pulling off himself. Like he's so weird and funny and interesting in a way that you feel like he doesn't mean to.
Exactly. All right, we got to wrap this up. Chris, tell everybody about Monday.
Judah Friedlander Unmasked. That's happening Monday, October 23rd at 8 p.m. at the Stand in New York City. You go to ibang.com for a chance at free tickets. And Judah's new special, Judah Friedlander, America is the Greatest Country in the United States. That comes out Tuesday, October 31st on Netflix.
Ba, 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 ba. Larry says, Carrie says, the little kid from E.T. is now Pamela Adlon's love interest. Yeah, we were talking about that last week.
We did 20 questions, and it didn't go well. We tried to make the kids all guess.
I got it eventually.
What's that?
I got it eventually.
No,
you got it after you heard it.
Yeah, he screamed it at you.
Chris,
yes.
A lot of people are accusing you of being a liar lately.
Okay.
And that's not something that helps.
Okay.
When you try to take credit on something that you... And by the way, if you're playing 20 questions and you got it at 40, you should be embarrassed.
You lost, dude. You lost.
Ba, 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 ba. There are dinosaurs. Some are good and some are bad.
Did you
but all the dinosaurs live on an island of more dinosaurs. There was a talk show on that had a woman, her name was Dinah Shore. She had no talent that I could tell as a child, but she had a talk show on every day at 4:00. And when Jurassic Park came on, Steven Spielberg does Dinah Shore. You see it in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually says to her, and he brings in one of the raptors, and he goes like this, Dinah Shore, this is Dinosaur. Wow. That's what a good liar I am. I took that long to set it up, right? For the worst, ridiculous thing ever. All right, that's it for us, gang. Hope to see you back in here again when we're back in 1974.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evening is over. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you all again in 1974. Good evening!